listening to Race Day Live on Downforce UK, brought to you by Clapham North MOT, Motorsport Days Live, Stopwatch Hospitality, and Trade Price Cars.
Welcome back to Mariembourg, the second round of the 2018 IAME X30 European Series. It's going to be an absolutely spectacular battle for the rest of the day here, and we've got several encounters, 14 races right the way through to the end of the day. Jake Sanson here in the commentary box overlooking the International Raceway starting line here at the Karting de Fagnes circuit, and it's going to be X30 Senior qualifying heat DE that will kickstart our afternoon of racing in the sunshine here in the fast and furious, frenetic sunshine that's giving us a bit of a heat haze here around the circuit. We're live on the Telemundi Media YouTube stream and website, and of course we are also live on the Downforce UK Spreaker channel as well. It's going to be a very exciting start to the weekend here. Already we've had 8 races in the seniors, juniors and minis and super shifters, and now we have more action from the X30 seniors with 70 drivers bidding to become our first race winner of the second race winner, I should say, of the season after Mark Kimber at Salbris. The X30 senior grid just going around on its formation lap at the moment in qualifying heat D and E. And it's going to be Sean Butcher and William Godefroid on the front row of the starting grid from Clayton Ravenscroft and Niels Kuhlen, with Henke Waldschmidt and Philip Vava on the third row from Ben Fayers and Simon Henrad, with Ali Akabi, Tony Harainen, and then Danny Curl and Camille Pretot, with Ruben Knutson and Danny Bunshu, Enzo Giraud and Mark Kimber, the winner from Salbris, Owen Byatt and Rashid Ghanem, and then it is Martin Hebet and Thomas Fleming rounding out the top 20. Henke Kalteren and Rufus Hunt are on the 11th row from Lene Buehler and Anthony Munin, and then it is Kilian Belair, Harry Barlow, Camille Donich and Leonardo Paniautu. So that is the grid for this fifth race of the weekend for the senior X30s. We've already had some pretty sensational battles. A pair of victories for Joe Turney sets him in good stead for the weekend. Jake Sanson here in the commentary box, getting ready for the action. If you rejoin us on the YouTube channel for Telemundi Media, then do please keep your messages and your good well wishes coming in for all of the drivers around the circuit, and obviously from wherever you are around the world. And obviously for those listening as well, we are live on Downforce UK's Spreaker channel, as we always are for the IAME X30 European Series. We're getting ourselves underway in the tram lines, and who's going to get the initial first start? Let's find out. It's a good getaway from the inside line, and straight away into the lead. Sean Butcher holds the line from Clayton Ravenscroft. So those two come through, and Ravenscroft going straight for the lead into turn 2 and 3, and he's there. So Ravenscroft hits the front for the very first time this weekend, and now he's going to struggle to hold off Sean Butcher, but he's got there. So Ravenscroft is in the lead of the race, and there's a little bit of jostling for position. Up on 2 wheels goes the 287 further back. That's Rashid Ghanem on the M Sport card, but otherwise everybody through safe and clear in the first few corners of the lap. Really exciting battle, and that was a bit of a scary start for a couple of them, but they've just about managed to get away without too many catastrophes. So, racing action well underway here at the Karting de Fagnes International Raceway, and it's Clayton Ravenscroft who holds the early advantage here, and it's going to be a really interesting battle for him throughout. So can he hang on to the lead here? He's got the likes of Sean Butcher and William Godefroid very close in behind, but Clayton Ravenscroft has already got himself a good lead. Here comes Henke Waldschmidt into second place. Waldschmidt gets past Butcher, so now it's Ravenscroft versus Waldschmidt, with Sean Butcher in there in third position. So, a cracking start to proceedings. It is Ravenscroft from Waldschmidt, Butcher, Kuhlen, Godefroid, Vava, Curl, Akabi, Knutson, Fires, and Simon Henrad. And that is the way things look in the early stages of proceedings here. Terrific racing at the moment, as we have a good battle just on the lower outskirts of the top 10, but great racing throughout. It will be a very tight battle as the drivers continue to charge around this Belgian circuit here in Mariembourg. Some great action, and Clayton Ravenscroft now down in third position as a result of the tussles between Henke Waldschmidt and Sean Butcher. They have both got by, so Waldschmidt is now your new leader. Sean Butcher in second place. Third position, Ravenscroft. Fourth is Niels Kuhlen, and there's a good few battles as a couple of more drivers are making up places and losing places. Here goes Butcher. Butcher through for the lead, and Ravenscroft going to try and go through in a second place, and Niels Kuhlen is going to try and get there for third place as well. So Kuhlen through in a third place. Good driving there, and it's down from first to fourth in a heartbeat as Ravenscroft goes for the lead again. Waldschmidt goes up into third place once more. So Ravenscroft and Butcher are now out in front of the rest of the field. Great racing further back. It's all still very close. It's now Ravenscroft, Butcher, Kuhlen, Waldschmidt, Godefroid, Vava, Ackerby, Curl, Knutson, Fires, Onrad, Pruto, Mark Kimber up to 13th from Harainen, and that's a retirement. Now, who is that? That's Robin Knutson. Robin Knutson out of the race, unfortunately, up at turn 3. So Robin Knutson on one of the Cosmic chassis having a real struggle. That's Butcher now in the lead. Sean Butcher, the Australian, has now got himself into the lead of the race in front of Clayton Ravenscroft. So it's going to be a tough race from here on in because you've got Henke Waldschmidt and Niels Kuhlen still right there scrapping away for that second and third position run. But Sean Butcher leads the way here in Senior X30. Great performance from the Australian. Based nowadays in London, England, but having a great run here in the Mick Barrett Racing team as he runs in front of Clayton Ravenscroft in second. Third, Henke Waldschmidt. Fourth place, Niels Kuhlen, but not for long because Kuhlen goes up the inside and takes third position. Good pass there from Kuhlen. He moves up into 3 and up to 5th position now, by the way, is Ali Ackerby on the Dan Holland Racing cart. He is working his magic there to push his way further forward. In fact, Ali Ackerby, the Jordanian, is actually 5th position in this race at the moment and the fastest first sector of anybody. So he is getting himself into the mix then, in there behind Henke Waldschmidt. In 4th position, Niels Kuhlen is 3rd, as we know. 2nd place, Clayton Ravenscroft. But the leader for Mick Barrett Racing is Sean Butcher, the Australian. And he's had a fairly decent start to his season already. But this really would be an absolutely spectacular run. So Sean Butcher continues to push out in front. Interesting to see that the first 4 carts in this race are all using, the first 5 carts in this race are all using that new nose panel. So they continue on their way. Butcher, Ravenscroft, Kuhlen, Waldschmidt and Ali Ackerby. And then up to 6th position, that is Danny Curl. So that's Danny Curl, the reigning world champion in 6th position. He's moved his way up on the HTP team cart as he puts himself further up the order. Good racing, good squabbles all the way through this field. A very tough circuit, this one, the Mariembourg track. Very twisty, very tight and very technical. And it looks as though Henke Waldschmidt is giving Clayton Ravenscroft the hurry up. As out in front, Sean Butcher's got a little bit of a gap. And he's doing a great job on this lap as well. Sean Butcher, fastest of all in the 2nd sector. So still trying to put in a good move or two. Ravenscroft still there in 2nd place, trying to get away from Niels Kuhlen, or at least work with Niels Kuhlen to move further forward. Henke Waldschmidt in 4th place now, thanks to Kuhlen moving forward, and now he's going to get past Ravenscroft. Ravenscroft is basically drifting out wide there in turn 1 and loses the place. Now he can work with Niels Kuhlen, who got the win earlier on, don't forget, to see if he can try and get closer to Sean Butcher. But Butcher is your leader at the moment. 2nd place is Niels Kuhlen. 3rd is Clayton Ravenscroft. 4th is Henke Waldschmidt. 5th place, Ali Ackerby, the Jordanian. And then 6th is the reigning world champion, Danny Curl. That's your top 6 at the moment. Great racing and a very good battle in the offing here as we are only on lap 6, the halfway lap of this heat. 11 laps in this X30 senior grids for the qualifying heats. 15.026 kilometres, the total distance. And this is going to be a really interesting run to the flag, to be fair, because there's still a very open contest for that 2nd place. Niels Kuhlen in that 2nd from Ravenscroft. 4th is Henke Waldschmidt. 5th is Ali Ackerby. 6th is Danny Curl. 7th place is William Godefroid. Then it's Ben Fayers, Simon Enrad and Camille Proteau still battling away over 9th place. And then we have, outside the top 10, Mark Kimber is 11th now from Owen Byatt, Tony Harainen, Danny Bunshu, Anzo Giroud, Rufus Hunt, Thomas Fleming and Henke Kalteran, because Philip Vava's had an off somewhere and has now dropped his way down the order. And another big problem for Philip Vava as he tries to go up the inside of Thomas Fleming, and that did not work. That's allowed Henke Kalteran to get through. So Philip Vava having all sorts of difficulties there as he drops down the order to 19th place, just in front of Lena Bühler, the Swiss lady driver who's moved to the Evolution team for this weekend and is definitely picking up some more pace. So Sean Butcher, again, fastest of all in the 2nd sector, and that is giving him a gap that's big enough to think about winning this race. Niels Kuhlen, Clayton Ravenscroft, and Henke Waldschmidt chasing him down, and they're going to have to work together to do it. There's a long time to go in this race still, 4 laps left, and that's a long time in this circuit. It's a very long track as Henke Waldschmidt makes the move for 3rd on Ravenscroft. So Waldschmidt is through into P3. Makes a great overtaking move, does Henke Waldschmidt, and now that puts him onto the back of Niels Kuhlen. 5th place is Ali Akabi. 6th place now, that is William Godefroid. He's got past Danny Curl and left him in the clutches of Ben Fayers. Fastest first sector of the whole race from Camille Pretot. Camille Pretot in 9th place, as he's now in front of Mark Kimber, Simon Henrad, and Owen Byatt. So Kimber is breaking his way into the top 10 if he can, and hoping to stay there and make up a few more places if it's possible. But it is tricky at this point of the race because we are 4 laps from home and there's a lot of time still to make up. But he's got to just keep hungry and keep with the pace. Sean Butcher, first position, leading the way at the moment. Niels Kuhlen, Henke Waldschmidt and Clayton Ravenscroft are still working together to move further forward. And to be fair, Sean Butcher's gap was 0.6 of a second. It's now down to half a second. So if they can continue to chip away at it, as Kimber makes the move up the inside. Decisive bit of overtaking there from Kimber, but he's about to gain a place and then lose one to Fayers. So Kimber made the pass on Simon Henrad, but then Tony Harainen came through, and took the place. Now Kimber's got him back again. Great racing in the midfield, as much as there is in the front end of the field. Oh, a little bit of a jostle there as Rufus Hunt tried to go up the inside there of, I think that is Danny Bunshu, the Swiss driver, and he had his nose well and truly chopped across there. So fair play to the 14-year-old from Rugby. Still working hard there, Rufus Hunt, in the mid-pack, trying to move forward. But the leaders fairly comfortable at the moment. Sean Butcher still leads here from Niels Kuhlen and Henke Waldschmidt, who are close together, tightening up their grip. Clayton Ravenscroft in 4th place. Then it's Ali Akabi, William Godefroid, Danny Curl, Ben Fayers, Camille Pretot, and Owen Byatt, who's now in 10th position. So Byatt is in there in P10. And the next man in is Mark Kimber, who's up to 11th position in front of Harainen, Simon Henrad, and Anzo Giroud. Great racing from the front all the way down to the back. There's always some action to keep an eye on, and I'm trying to look in about 17 different directions at once here because we've got so many great races going on within each other. Henke Waldschmidt, the fastest lap of the race thus far, a 56.873 from Waldschmidt. And the ultimate best is only about 1/10 of a second faster than that. So that's how close the front runners are, and that's how fast they are currently pushing to get further up the field. But with 2 laps to go, they are running out of time to make this one count. So now it's all a question of whether Niels Kuhlen is going to be able to hold off Henke Waldschmidt for 2nd place, because Sean Butcher has got a victory in the bag here if he just keeps it on the road. 1 lap to go, and Sean Butcher doing a grand job. Now he needs to maintain this pace out front. There is no panic from his point of view. He does not need to worry about this as Danny Bunshu fails to make a move into the first corner, and there's a lot of squabbling going on in the mid-pack for their moves, as up the inside comes Waldschmidt. Henke Waldschmidt gets past Niels Kuhlen, and this could be an open invitation for Clayton Ravenscroft to break into the top 3 once again. He was 2nd in his first heat. He now dives up the inside. That's brave from Ravenscroft. He has to back out of it in turn 6. But what a choice manoeuvre that could have been. But it looks to me as though that's just gift-wrapped Sean Butcher a fairy tale victory from pole position. It does seem to go that way, doesn't it? Many drivers from pole position in Senior X30 have been able to go on to take a win, but Butcher had to work for that one. That was never going to be an easy race win. He managed to get the gap at exactly the right time. Sean Butcher out of the final turn, and that's the big one. Sean Butcher wins it. Great result. Great drive from the Australian. Henke Waldschmidt is 2nd from Niels Kuhlen and Clayton Ravenscroft. Ali Akabi, the Jordanian, in a brilliant 5th place from William Godefroid and Danny Curl, Camille Pretot, Ben Fayers, and Owen Byatt rounding out the top 10 in front of Mark Kimber. A very clean race, I have to say. Only one major retirement, and that is being Robin Knutson. So a very exciting battle and a great performance. Outside the top 10, Mark Kimber 11th from Tony Harainen and Anzo Giroud from Bunshu, Kalteren, Onrad, Fleming, Vava, Hunt, Ganem, Bueller, Moonen, Hebet, Panayoto, Barlow and Donic. Great racing. Sean Butcher taking the victory then from Henke Waldschmidt after a very close battle in the early stages. Cooled off from Butcher as he managed to build up the gap. Waldschmidt in 2nd place from Niels Kuhlen. Clayton Ravenscroft in 4th from Ali Akabi and William Godefroid. Then Danny Curl in 7th from Pretot, Fayers, Byatt, Kimber and Harainen. Anzo Giroud from Danny Bunshu. Henke Kalteren, Simon Unrad, Thomas Fleming, Philip Vava, Hunt Ganem, Bueller, Moonen, Martin Abet and Leonardo Panayoto in front of Harry Barlow and Camille Donic, with sadly a retirement on this occasion from Robin Knutson. So that's the form after that race. A fantastic performance and a great display. But there's more great race action to come, of course, as we move on to the next race. But that is a long walk home for Robin Knutson in the 2:14, and he'll be disappointed by that.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingram and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jacques Villeneuve, you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna, you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
You're listening to Race Day Live on Downforce UK, brought to you by Clapham North MOT, Motorsport Days Live, Stopwatch Hospitality, and Trade Price Cars.
So now the race action is back on again here in the X30 Seniors as we go into qualifying heat A and C with Nicolas Picot and Joe Turney starting from the front of the grid. This is going to be interesting because Nicolas Picot, of course, the fastest ultimately from qualifying, hence why he's the leader of the A group. But then alongside him, the man who's already taken 2 great victories over the course of today, Joe Turney. So the confidence is going to be sky high with Joe, and he won one of those races from pole position, but he also won the other one from the outside line going into that first corner. So he does have the ability to just cruise it round the outside in the hope of finding the grip. So really interesting to see that there is a real dynamic at the front end of this field with several drivers trying to move their way further forward. Ruben Moya and Vincent Marceau on that second row of the grid should be worth a watch as well. They've been very feisty in the opening phases of the day's action. But then we've got Jordan Brown-Nutley and Angus Morsdale, the 2 Brits on that third row of the starting grid. So if you've just joined us, hello and welcome to you from the Karting de Fagnes International Raceway Circuit here in Belgium. It's been a really exciting day's action thus far in the second round of the 2018 IAME X30 European Series. If you've missed any of the action, well, 8 weeks ago we had our first race meeting of the championship season at Salbris in France, where the Mini X30 victory went to Alejandro Melendez, where the X30 Junior Championship was won by the man from Dalry, Lewis Gilbert, the British contingent, winning in fine form there at Salbris. We also had another British winner in Senior X30, namely Mark Kimber, and then in the Super Shifters, it went the way of Stendorian Pidimargi of Estonia. Well, here things are going to be slightly different because all of those drivers are having to find their feet a little bit in terms of their performance. Mark Kimber's not quite on the pace he wanted to be, having missed most of yesterday's practice sessions due to examinations. Alejandro Melendez has not really been able to get onto the same sort of pace that he showed in Salbris yet, but he is making progress through the field with some good overtaking moves in his earlier heat. Also, it's going to be a tricky one for Lewis Gilbert. He has got a lot of pressure and he has got a lot of battles to cope with over the next few races, but he has started very well indeed here. And it's also going to be a tough one for Stendorian Pidimargi with first blood in the X30 Super Shifters earlier on, going to his Swiss rival Kevin Luddy. I can now confirm that magnificent and majestic start that you saw earlier on. It has been reiterated to me that was a jump start from Philip Seaver. I'm not at all surprised, but what a spectacular sight it was nonetheless. Unfortunately, he does have to be penalised for it, but it looked absolutely spectacular regardless. So I still give you a bit of a wink and a nod there for that one, Philip. Right, let's talk about the X30 Seniors qualifying heat AC. We are currently very hot temperatures for this particular part of the day. We are now at 25 degrees Celsius. No, but forget that. It's been updated since the last time I talked about it. 28 degrees Celsius. So the track temperature is going to be a good 4 to 5 degrees more than that. So you're looking at about 32, 33 degrees Celsius. It is now pretty much the hottest it has been here this weekend for the entirety of the past 3 days here on this Saturday afternoon in Mariembourg in Belgium. We've got a beautiful skyline. There's barely a cloud in it, and even what there is not really enough to keep us nice and cool. I tell you what, the cafe downstairs is doing a roaring trade in iced drinks and ice cream at the moment. So I'm keeping myself nice and cool and refreshed here in my commentary box. If there are any drivers in the paddock who want to come and have a quick word to promote themselves and to explain how things have been going over the course of the weekend, it's always very much appreciated. We'd love to hear from the other drivers in the paddock, not just the English ones either. We want to hear from the international contingent as well. We understand, of course, it's very busy, so a lot of the drivers will be focusing very much on their racing ahead of them. But Nicolas Picot and Joe Turney are now going to be facing a very strong start to their race from the front end of the grid. We're within a minute of the starting time of this next race, And, of course, this is going to be an interesting and entertaining one for Pico and Turney. Ruben Moya and Vincent Marceau are on that second row of the grid from Jordan Brown-Nutley and Angus Moulsdale, with Louis Westover and Rens van Pelt on row 4 of the grid from Masatora Wada, the Japanese driver, and the Swedish ace Isak Valtonen. So the drivers are going out onto the circuit now to get their 2 formation laps underway. And once they have done that, we will be able to go racing for another 11 laps, another 15.026 kilometres around this circuit. It's the equivalent of running from here to the nearby town of Philippeville, pretty much. And there's been all sorts of wildlife around the circuit here this weekend. Over the course of this morning's track walk, I not only came across Turbo's cousin, a very fast snail running around the circuit, but also a rather unfortunate frog that decided to wend its way onto the course during practice. Didn't make it, unfortunately. Nicolas Pico and Joe Turney from the front of the grid. Ruben Moya and Vincent Marceau on the second row from Jordan Brown-Nutley and Angus Moulsdale on the third, with Louis Westover and Rens van Pelt on the fourth row of the grid. And rounding out the top 10, it is Masatora Wada and Isak Valtonen. Stefan Planchamp and Felix Warga are on row 6 from Sebastian Degrand and Thomas Imburg. Levi Litukanto of Finland and Ross Hayes, the Irishman. Then Jarno Guvarts and Kevin Stehauer. Milan Petele and Eduardo Cosateng round out the top 20. Romain Leroux, Nicolas Bayard, Rafael Villagomez, Liam Hezemans, Thanapongpang Situmnu still way down, Evan Becerra, Manuel Godofratone, and Gustav Brandin is your grid. I'm not sure we're going to see from Max Pilker. We certainly didn't earlier, so we will double check and confirm to see if that is going to be the case. But what an absolutely fantastic battle we have in prospect for us here, with Nicolas Pico and Joe Turney very fast over the course of the weekend, both of them, and Joe Turney in particular already twice a winner here today. So let's see what he can do in this his third race of the day. And I think for him, if my maths is correct, that is going to be the penultimate of his heats. He's certainly not going to have to go out again until the very tail end of the day, about 7 o'clock local time, Joe Turney, because he's already done 3 races in relatively quick succession. So he can have a bit of a breather now after this one. But he's certainly not going to take this race lying down. He'll want to get a very decent start and move his way further forward as fast as is humanly possible. Interesting to see a couple of the teams that have got brand new nose cone front fairings on the kart for this one, because they've already been in the wars of the last one. And they will now try and move their way up through the field as quickly as possible. You can tell the ones who have, because they're all blank white nose cones on the front of those front fairings. So they will try their best to make sure the front wing does not get damaged a second time. But the driving is going to be very intense here for Nicolas Pico and Joe Turney at the front of the grid. I'm interested to see how Ruben Moya will get on from the second row of the grid in third place. Then, of course, Vincent Marceau, Jordan Brown-Nutley and Angus Moulsdale in close competition in the top 6. So we're going to see some pretty spectacular battles here this afternoon. The second round of the IAME X30 European Series continues here at the Karting de Fagnes International Raceway here in Mariembourg. And there's been some pretty exciting races over the course of the morning thus far. 9 down and another 13 to go over the course of the day. So we've got lots of race action from the Telemundi Media live stream on YouTube. If you're watching, good evening and hello to you wherever you are. Good afternoon, good evening and good night. So if there is anybody in particular who tickles your fancy, if there's anyone you're rooting for or anyone supporting you, then please do send us your messages, and we will try and get them in between races out onto the loudspeakers here at Mariembourg, and also on the Downforce UK Spreaker app stream here on Telemundi Media live and in full as well. So the karts are in the tram lines. They're going up through the throttle. This is going to be a fast start, I think. It's a little bit tentative from Nicolas Pico. Now the lights go out, and it's a great start from Ruben Moya as he makes his way through on the inside of Joe Turney. Turney's going to get squeezed here, because through on the inside line as well is going to come Jordan Brown-Nutley. Brown-Nutley through into third position. Turney down to P4. So already a very hectic start, and as they come through to 3, there's one kart riding over the back of another and into the gravel. We've got 2 karts off there at turn 3. Resting on each other. Now, one of them that's gone off there is the number 216. So we've had a bit of an off there, and that comes from the I'm not sure who the 216 is. Well, they're the other two. That was Masatora Wada. And then those two have come together are Jana Gurvarts. And I'm not sure who the other one is. I think that might be the 228 of Sebastian Degrand. So those two have come together, Degrand and Gurvarts. Gurvarts cannot get his kart started again by the look of it, so he's out of the race. And that is a real shame. So a big problem and a terrible start to the season for Jana Gurvarts. But Nicolau Pico leads the way. Great battles down the main straight as well. But Ruben Moya is in second position in front of Jordan Brown-Nutley. Then Joe Turney, Valtonen, Mulsdale, Westover, Marceau and Varga, with Planchamp in the top 10 for the moment. Now Ruben Moya hanging on because Jordan Brown-Nutley's just got himself through into second position. There's a great battle further back. It looks like the Piers Sexton Racing karts are having a great squabble in the mid-pack. And up to third position. Is that a move through? I think there's a change. Yes, Joe Turney has got himself into third place past Ruben Moya. So Joe Turney up into third place. And that's definitely a good improvement as far as he is concerned. He needs to keep that bandwagon rolling as far as he's concerned. And the drivers continue to battle away around the circuit. So I'm not entirely sure which way this is going to go, because at least 8 of these drivers in the top 8, all in contention. Vincent Marceau going faster than all of them at the back of the queue. But it's Pico, Brown-Nutley, Turney, Moya, Valtonen, Mulsdale, Marceau and Felix Varga. So Stefan Planchamp in 9th place. And then we have Louis Westover in 10th position at the moment. They tussle their way through. A change for the lead as Jordan Brown-Nutley dives up the inside of Nicolau Pico. And Joe Turney trying to come through as well. But he has to squeeze back into third position before the move is made, because there was not quite going to be enough room to make that happen. But great driving, great racing, and a spectacular spectacle once again. So there is Jordan Brown-Nutley leading the way. Joe Turney trying to get into second place, unable to yet on Nicolau Pico. But you do get the sense that whenever there is another gap that opens up, he is going to pod his kart into the middle of that. Ruben Moya in front of the Swede Isaac Valtonen. I think that's Valtonen, or is it Mulsdale now? No, it is still Valtonen in there in position. As they come across the line this time by Nicolau Pico once again going for the lead on Jordan Brown-Nutley. Doesn't go for the move itself. But Brown-Nutley, Pico, Turney, Moya, Valtonen, Mulsdale, Marceau and Varga. And up the inside for fourth position. That is a change as Moya's going to lose 2 places. So through into fourth goes Valtonen. Through into fifth goes Angus Mulsdale. Moya's going to try and come back at him. But that's good enough. And Angus Mulsdale now threatening to take on the fourth place man, Isaac Valtonen. And the Swede is going to have to work incredibly hard to hang on to that, to be fair. So now they come through the far side of the circuit, through the S's, through the hairpin sweepers. Jordan Brown-Nutley still giving plenty of tussle to Nicolas Pico at the moment. Joe Turney sat there in third position, just watching it play out, waiting to see what will happen. But he can't afford to sit around for long because Moya, Valtonen, Mulsdale and Marceau are still very tight in with each other. As again, Nicolau Pico is trying to work with Jordan Brown-Nutley just to stretch away in the hope that in the last couple of laps they'll be the only 2 in the fight. Pico's going to go for the move and takes the lead into turn 1 here at Mariembourg. With 7 laps to go, Nicolau Pico goes back into first position and has the nerve to gesture to Jordan Brown-Nutley, "Come on, mate, let's go and disappear out front." Jordan Brown-Nutley's response, "Well, that's what I was trying to do." Right, we've got a yellow flag. Somebody off on the far side of the circuit. Can't quite see who that is. I think it might be Felix Varga, who's he was battling in the top 8 at one point. So the local man, Felix Varga, has had we've had another off elsewhere on the circuit, coming off on the grass and rejoining in a rather hectic position. So we have a very nasty slide there. Not sure who it was that's gone down, but Ruben Moya's dropped down the order. So Moya, Marceau and Felix Varga, I think, all got caught into the same sort of part of the circuit. But we've had somebody run right off the circuit. I think that was Milan Petelet who went off there and has lost a few places, but has now come back onto the circuit. And Nicolau Pico still leading Jordan Brown-Nutley. Joe Turney leaving it very late to go into the lead into the battle for second position. And now he's gone through up the inside line. He's left the door open for 2 more to come by. So Vincent Marceau, who was in that position, is not anymore. Isaac Valtonen's taken good advantage of it up to third. Brown-Nutley has managed to get back past Angus Mulsdale to hold on to fourth place for the moment. Wow, dramatic stuff. Good racing once again. We are on the halfway point of this heat, the 6th lap out of 11, which is dead on halfway for Nicolau Pico, Jordan Brown-Nutley and Joe Turney in front of Isaac Valtonen, Angus Mulsdale and Ruben Moya, who has now slipped a bit of a way back from these guys. Yellow flags. We got 2 more cuts off in the background. Now, who was that's gone? I think that is actually Ruben Moya and Louis Westover. So once again, Louis Westover's had absolutely no luck at all this weekend. Ruben Moya has now come through, as has Louis Westover, but they are a long, long way back, and it was those two that came together by the look of it. That is a real shame. So their luck again running out. I think it was Ruben Moya going through the field and Louis Westover deciding to make an overtaking move, and they just clattered into each other up at turn 7. Now that's a real shame that their races have come to an end so soon in this battle. So 5 laps to go. There's a warning flag going out to Stéphane Planchamp, the Swiss driver. Not quite sure what that's for, but he now finds himself right down at the back. So it's going to be a long way back for him. Ruben Moya's got a bumper dragging on the floor. He's going to pull off right in front of our position here on the commentary box. He pulls off, having seen that his bumper is broken, and Ruben Moya is out of the race. That's a real shame. So that collision, unfortunately, with his opponent there in the battle, Louis Westover, his race is well and truly run. And he's now doing what all racing drivers who are frustrated do in that situation, which is kick the cart's bumper back into position. So out in the lead, it is Nicolas Picot. Joe Turney in second place in front of Isaac Valtonen, Jordan Brown-Nutley, and the 5th place man, Angus Mulsdale. It's been this way for a few laps now. In 6th position, fighting back, is Stéphane Planchamp, who got that warning flag from Rens van Pelt and Vincent Marceau. Thomas Imborg has moved his way up into 9th position. Moving up 11 places is Romain Leroux. The Frenchman's finally got himself further forward and is now there in what is 10th position. So Romain Leroux doing an absolutely terrific job of working his way forward. But at the moment, it's the 2 men who started first and second in this race, Nicolas Picot and Joe Turney, with Isaac Valtonen having made up 7 places to be in 3rd. It's a great drive from the Swede at the moment in 3rd position as they come through. Jordan Brown-Nutley in P4, once again hustling. Angus Mulsdale in 5th position as they come off the turn once again. Is this going to be Jordan Brown-Nutley's move to come through? Not this time. And he's going to need to get on with it because Angus Mulsdale is really starting to step up the attack once more. Brown-Nutley this time gets past Isaac Valtonen. The door is left open and Angus Mulsdale is going to get there as well. Beautiful. Well done from both of them. So Brown-Nutley is now 3rd. Mulsdale is now 4th. And 5th position is Isaac Valtonen. So they continue to challenge away for position. But out in front, it is Nicolas Picot in front of Joe Turney as they scrap away. Joe Turney trying to make it 3 wins out of 3. But he's got a lot of work to do in 3 laps to try and get that deadlock back to Nicolas Picot. I say 3 laps, it's now closer to 2 and a bit now. As they come off the turn, Jordan Brown-Nutley still running well there with Angus Mulsdale in 3rd and 4th positions, with Isaac Valtonen having dropped to 5th place. 2 laps to go, and Joe Turney is doing the very best he can to close up on the man in front, Nicolas Picot. So if Nicolas Picot can hold on to it, he is running very well indeed, and looking good for some decent race results here. Will obviously put you in good stead for the finals later. But Joe Turney is the only one who can match Nicolas Picot at the moment. 3rd place for Jordan Brown-Nutley, then Angus Mulsdale and Isaac Valtonen. Mulsdale getting very, very close to the back bumper of Jordan Brown-Nutley there as he battles away for position in 3rd. Trying to come through onto the inside line and make the pass. This could be a good one for Mulsdale. It's not quite close enough yet, so he's going to have to wait for another opportunity. But a really good battle and a really strong opposition here in the Senior X30's second heat of this second phase of the day. And if you look, Mulsdale is giving Jordan Brown-Nutley a real hurry-up as they go into the final lap. Could Mulsdale snatch the final spot in the top 3? Here they come across the line. And it is now the last lap as Jordan Brown-Nutley has to move across to defend Angus Mulsdale coming through. But this is exciting stuff as we are now on the last lap here at the Karting de Fagnes International Raceway here in Belgium. And there's going to be a run to the checkered flag like you would not believe. Jordan Brown-Nutley has got Angus Mulsdale boxed in, and now that's going to be a move up the inside for the Frenchman and getting past both of them. That's Rens van Pelt. Yet again, Rens van Pelt uses his superior knowledge of the track to sweep past both Isaac Valtonen and Angus Mulsdale. That was masterful from Rens van Pelt, and that puts him up into 4th place on the last lap here of this sixth heat of the day for the Senior X30s, but it's a perfect run to the flag in the end for Nicolas Picot. He has done it in perfect style out of the final couple of corners, and Nicolas Picot wins in fantastic style here in Belgium. Second place for Joe Turney. Third for Jordan Brown-Nutley from Rens van Pelt, Isaac Valtonen, Vincent Masseroux, Steven Planchap, Angus Mulsdale dropping to 8th in the end, sadly, from Thomas Imberg and Romain Leroux, with Levi Lintucanto and Edouard Cosseteng in the top 12. Well, a really strong performance that from Nicolas Picot, and that's going to give him bags of confidence continuing on into the rest of the weekend. A bit of a topsy-turvy race there with a few different issues and a few different incidents to talk about there. About 4 or 5 carts littering the side of the road, with only 24 of the drivers who started finishing. Ruben Moya, Louis Westover, Felix Varga and Jarno Couverts, unfortunately out of the race. So it's Nicolas Picot who wins from Joe Turney, then Jordan Brown-Nutley and Rens van Pelt, Isaac Valtonen, Vincent Masseroux, Steven Planchap, Angus Mulsdale, Thomas Imberg, Romain Leroux. They complete the top 10 from Levi Lintucanto and Eduardo Cosseteng, Mano Godofalo-Torne and Kevin Stahauer, Nicolas Bayart, Milan Petele, Ross Hayes, Rafael Villagomez, Liam Hezemans and Gustav Brandin, from Evan Becerra, Masatora Wada, Thanapongpang Satumnu and Sebastian de Grand. And unfortunately, retirements from Ruben Moya, Louis Westover and Felix Varga, as well as Jarno Couverts, who did not complete the first lap. And Max Pilker, of course, electing not to take the start and we think has gone home early. So a really exciting battle here in the IAME X30 Euro Series Senior X30s. There's going to be more action where that came from, but the next action on track is a class that's already been pretty solid and very exciting to watch. As we clear away the wreckage, it's going to be a couple of minutes from now anyway that we see the Junior X30s come back out on track.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingham and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jake Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
You're listening to Race Day Live on Downforce UK, brought to you by Clapham North MOT, Motorsport Days Live, Stopwatch Hospitality and Trade Price Cars.
So attention turns once again to the X30 Juniors, and this time it is going to be for classes B, or groups B and C. It is definitely a second chance for the man on pole position, Rimo Kadapik, who had all of his bad luck happen in one fell swoop in his first heat of the day. From the front row of the grid, having been the fastest driver throughout practice, Kadapik had his fortunes cruelly robbed from him with a little bit of an accident with Daniel Gregor, and that destroyed his car to the front end and left him absolutely hopping mad. However, that's done. It's over. It's history. And this is Rimo Kadapik's chance to redeem himself. And from that inside line, he's going to have a much stronger run to the first corner. Alongside him on that starting grid is going to be his closest opposition so far, Lewis Gilbert, who is obviously one of the top chargers for this weekend, having been the championship leader coming into the second round of the championship. Noah Maton and Josh Rolich on that second row of the grid, with Zach Ripley and Marty Boyer on the third row. Then we have Helena Rodini and Anzo Juliet in the fourth row, along with Josh McLean and Delano Van Hoff. Kian Shields and Lois Delbar will be on the sixth row, from Jason and Herbert Moore. Ronan Patrick Akala, Zach Meakin and William Nicolou is out the field. So that's the grid for this next heat, the qualifying heat BC, this third heat. I was going to say fourth heat, but in fact the juniors have only been out twice before. 8 laps of the circuit, 10.928 kilometres is now under consideration for these drivers. They're going to have to push very hard to complete it in a good time. They're all a shave under 60 seconds for qualifying. The very fastest laps from the junior brigades are in the 56s the course of the weekend. So if anybody's outside the 56 mark, well, there's some time to make up, really. So the driver so eager and anticipatory. Lots of great races to come. Lots of great races have already become. And there's going to be an awful lot more action. But it's 28 degrees Celsius here at the Karting de Fagnes in Mariembourg. So it's a really, really tricky part of the season now because we're into the weekend now because we're into the hottest phase of the entire weekend, and all of the teams and drivers are going to be pushing very hard indeed to make sure that they continue their weekends on a high. So within a minute, they will be flagged out of the pits and ready to go racing once again. 2 formation laps around the circuit are coming, and they will have some pretty exciting battles to have over the course of the next 8 laps. Lots of drivers who could win, lots of drivers in contention to win, but it all adds up to a brilliant final cliffhanger for this phase of the day. There will be 4 heats in total more for the juniors today. And that's going to be a really interesting one when the other 2 groups meet with each other once more. Any moment now, Mario will give the order from the end of the pit lane to wave the green flag, and the Junior X30 qualifying heat B and C will begin. The last few seconds tick down in the holding area as we wait for the action in this third Junior X30 race of the weekend for qualifying heat B-C. For those 2 groups, Rimo Kadapik is given a second chance to run away from the lead. He had his accident in race 1 that put him out of contention and out of the race. Kadapik now has a second chance to get it right. He lines up on the front row of the grid alongside championship leader coming into this round, Lewis Gilbert. Noah Maton and Josh Rowledge are next from Zach Ripley and Marty Boyer. Herlind Nuruddini is alongside Enzo Juliet with Josh McLean and Delano Van Hoff on the next row of the grid from Kian Shields, Lois Delbar, Jason Young, Erbelt Moore. And then we have Ken Oscar Algra from Ronan Patrick Hakala, Zach Meekin, and William Nicolo. So that's your field. 18 karts in total for this one, and they will battle away for each section of the race. But it's still not particularly clear who is going to get away out in front. There's always going to be a bit of a shake-up of the pack as all of the drivers will run together and all of the drivers will know very well. So Rimo Kadapik is going to lead the charge here. Just gone 4 p.m. local time. We'll line up alongside him on that front row of the starting grid, but Rimo Kadapik is going to have a very determined stance. He will more than anything to come back strong, having been taken off in the second lap of this race. As far as he's concerned, it's time to get it all sorted. Now, Rimo Kadapik is running around the circuit very quickly at the front end of the field here. He's not backing down for the formation lap just yet. I think he wants to wait as little time as is humanly possible. So Rimo Kadapik now eases up. And that was quite a long way into the lap that Rimo Kadapik decided to back off the throttle. So the Estonian obviously deciding that this is going to be the moment where he's going to move it forward. But now we will discover what happens next as we have Rimo Kadapik and Lewis Gilbert from that front row of the starting grid. Noah Maton and Josh Rowledge on the second row from Zach Ripley and Marty Boyer. Herlind Nuruddini and Enzo Juliet from Josh McLean and Delano Van Hoff. Kian Shields, Delbar, then Leung, Moa, Algra, Hakala, Meekin, and Nicolo. So the revs will rise. They come into the tram lines on the main straight once again, and let's go racing. We wait for the lights to go out, and let's race at Mariembourg. A great start on the inside line from all of the drivers in there, but again round the outside, Lewis Gilbert holds fast and keeps his second position as they tighten in for the next corner. It's all getting very jostly in the third and fourth place battle. Marty Boyer trying to get squeezed there as he comes now round the far side to move up into fifth position. Great driving from Marty Boyer to get up into fifth place there. Once again, the juniors put on a great show there in the first few corners as everybody avoids carnage and mayhem. And it's all going to look like a very relatively good day at the office. But Rimo Kadapik from Lewis Gilbert is the story up front. And Rimo Kadapik will be much happier about this than he was in the earlier start of his heat when things were already going fairly badly wrong when he had that coming together with Daniel Gregor in the first place. So a great start. And I think that's Marty Boyer up into fourth position now. Not quite, but he's definitely getting hungry for it. And interestingly, Marty Boyer has actually changed to the other nose cone. And he's up the inside and moved into fourth place. But Marty Boyer had reverted back to the previous Nassau. Oh, and in the inside, that is the move for the lead. Lewis Gilbert takes the lead from Remo Kadapik. So Lewis Gilbert leads now from Remo Kadapik in second. Third is Josh Rowledge. Then it's Marty Boyer in front of the 36 of Zach Ripley from Maton, Juliet, Nuruddini, Van Hoff, Delbar in the top 10 from McLean and the Flying Scotsman, Cian Shields. Up the inside, Marty Boyer having to defend, and there's a bit of contact between them. That's definitely compromised one of them. Marty Boyer's lost a couple of places, and I think it's Zach Ripley, the other one, and there's a big pile-up in the middle of the queue. Oh, dear. We've had 3 carts topple off there, and they are stranded in the middle of the circuit, just at the exit of turn 9. So there's 3 of them all together. One of them is one of the Fusion carts. I can't see who that is that's having to collect it up. Is that Cian Shields? I'm just trying to figure out who it is that's not come through as they come across the line. It's Gilbert who leads from Kadapik and Rowledge. Zach Ripley's dropped a long way back. 3 carts are off there at the first part of the middle complex. It's Herodin Neruddini, Jason Young, and Cian Shields. Oh, what a shame. Well, Cian Shields is going to try and get the cart going again. If he can get a push from the marshals to get back on track, then that's doable. Herodin Neruddini, the German, however, is definitely out of the race. And so too, sadly, is Cian Shields. I think he was trying to get back on the road once again and get back onto the lead lap. But Cian Shields is out, as is Herodin Neruddini and as is Jason Young. Now, hang on a second, because it looks to me as though Marty Boyer was caught up in all of that as well. I think he is now down at the back. So where is Marty Boyer? I think he's down in 15th place. He's down at the back of this field. So Gilbert's about to lose the lead to Kadapik. Kadapik launches through. Rowledge is going to try and repeat the move, but it's not going to work. And now, well, where is Marty Boyer now? He's moved up. Has he moved up a couple of places? No, Marty Boyer is out of it. Marty Boyer is out of the race for the first time this year. Wow, that is a big disaster for the Spaniard. So going from bad to worse. A couple of drivers getting caught up in the melee, and unfortunately 2 or 3 drivers getting spat out of the road. So it's caused a bit of carnage. Remo Kadapik now down to 3rd position, courtesy of Josh Rowledge. So Lewis Gilbert leads the way. Rowledge into 2nd. Kadapik in 3rd. He's got Noah Maton right behind him, and Enzo Juliet hoping to redeem himself from earlier on. And then we have Delano Van Hoff, Joshua McLean, Zach Ripley, Ronan Patrick Hackler, and rounding out the top 10 is Ken Oscar Algra. So here comes that battle for the lower parts of the top 10. Josh Rowledge has dropped the 3rd place scrap led by Remo Kadapik. Up the inside comes Enzo Juliet. He left that one far too late and decides not to make the move in the first place. So he remains in 5th place for the moment, trying desperately to get away from the 2 drivers in behind him. One of which is Delano Van Hoff, who has made the move on Josh McLean. So Delano Van Hoff is now up to P6. McLean is having another look to try and get through into that 6th position slot. But Delano Van Hoff, the Dutchman, working very well there with his teammate and hanging on to the place for the moment. They come up the top far side of the circuit, and it's Lewis Gilbert from Josh Rowledge. 3rd position, Remo Kadapik. 4th place, that is going to be a good run from Noah Maton with Enzo Juliet, Delano Van Hoff and Joshua McLean. Zach Ripley, Ronan Patrick Hackler, Ken Oscar Algra in the top 10. Then it's Herbert Moore, Zach Meakin, William Nicolou and Lois Delbar. But how about that? We've lost 4 big names from this race. Marty Boyer, out. Herodin Neruddini, out. Cian Shields, out. And also Jason Young, out. A very tough weekend for those 4, sorry. As up the inside comes Enzo Juliet. Makes the move into P4. Numero 4 is in P4, position 4. Good work there from Enzo Juliet to get past Noah Maton. That's going to give Delano Van Hoff and Joshua McLean a chance to close up in the 2 Fusion carts as they work together. 8th place is Ronan Patrick Hackler now, having got past Zach Ripley. And then the 10th position squabble still going on, but it's Herbert Muller versus Ken Oscar Algra. And the other man in there is William Nicolou and Zach Meakin. So it's still all very close as they continue to battle for positions. And I think we've got Lois Delbar having dropped back off the rest of the field in 14th place. He's got a little bit of momentum to make up there. 2 laps to go, and it's very good indeed for Lewis Gilbert right now, the young man from Dalry, keeping himself out there in position. The rest of the battle still very tight in behind as they squabble away for positions. A bit of a slide there from Ken Oscar Algra, and that has cost him the place to Zach Ripley. So Ronan Patrick Hackler's got past both of them, incidentally. But Lewis Gilbert still leads from Josh Rowledge as Delano Van Toff once again closes up on the kart in front of him of Noah Maton, the Belgian. So Lewis Gilbert versus Josh Rowledge looks like it's going to be the order of play for this heat. But they've got to be careful because they are being caught pretty rapidly by Rimo Kadapik. Still trying to redeem himself after his problems earlier of the weekend. But Rimo Kadapik trying to fight his way forward for sure. And that's going to be really interesting when he actually gets there. So Rimo Kadapik, first sector, is the fastest of all. The second sector is also Rimo Kadapik's best time of the whole race. Into the final lap we go. And it's Lewis Gilbert from Josh Rowledge. Rimo Kadapik in third from Enzo Juliet. And is there going to be a move from Josh McLean on Delano Van Toff? I thought there might be. Delano Van Toff is trying to get away from his teammate and see if he can make a dive up the inside of Noah Maton. He's not close enough yet. I think this top six is almost home and dry as Josh McLean decides to make a move on his Dutch teammate Delano Van Toff and makes the move up in the inside line. So Josh McLean has gone through. But out in front, it is Lewis Gilbert who has controlled the pace of this race. Those two leaders out front may have been swamped by the karts behind, once again led by Rimo Kadapik. But they are, at the very least, very worthy competitors to go up against in this race. As down the final drop, Lewis Gilbert is going to come into the right-hander. And it is going to be his. Out of the final couple of turns, he comes across the line. It's victorious. And it's a wonderful victory for Lewis Gilbert. He's done it again in front of Josh Rowledge from Rimo Kadapik, Enzo Juliet, Noah Maton and Josh McLean. From Delano Van Toff, Ronan Patrick Hackler, Zach Ripley. And rounding out the top 10 is William Nicolo. So Nicolo comes home in the end. And then we have 11th for Ken Oscar Algra, for Zach Meakin, for Herbert Moore, and for Lois Delbart. The four retirements, Marty Boyer, Helen Nardini, Kian Shields, and Jason Young. Four drivers who are most certainly not the lower end of this field. So four big names to fall, including for the first time in 2018, Marty Boyer. That's a really big one for this championship fight. But Lewis Gilbert is leading at the moment his defence of his victory from Salbris. Rowledge in second place from Rimo Kadapik, Enzo Juliet, Noah Maton and Joshua McLean. Seventh is Delano Van Toff. Ronan Patrick Hackler is in eighth place from Zach Ripley, William Nicolo, Ken Oscar Algra, and then at the back of that you have Zach Meakin in front of Herbert Moore and Lois Delbart. But we are not entirely sure what the reasons are for Marty Boyer, Helen Nardini, Kian Shields and Jason Young to all tighten up at that same point of the circuit in unison. And it's ended up working out very badly for all four of them, with their races coming to a premature end. Next up, after qualifying BC that we had from the drivers there, well, next up, it is A and D, and they'll be coming out fairly shortly within the next couple of moments.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingham and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jake Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
You're listening to Race Day Live on Downforce UK, brought to you by Clapham North MOT, Motorsport Days Live, Stopwatch Hospitality, and Trade Price Cars.
So the battle continues here in the X30 Juniors for qualifying Heat B and C. We've just seen Rimo Kadapik go from third position down to third in the end result, but he's still picked up some useful points for doing so. Lewis Gilbert making it 2 out of 2, the young man from Scotland, as he pushes his way further forward. But now we've got the qualifying heat for A and D, and it's the man who was fastest of all in X30 Junior qualifying yesterday, Maximus Meyer, and the man who dominated and canted out to a victory of over 3 seconds in that first race as well. Luca Leistra in second position alongside him from Josh Rattiker and Alex Lloyd. Oli Pilker and Jozek Spinkovic will share the third row of the grid, the Polish teammates Daniel Gregor and Sam Balota on the fourth row, with Tom Leben and Victor Pardo, then Linus Janssen, Alessandro Tedesca, Lawrence de Querta, Tom Uzan, Liam McNeely, Eric Alanis Bosch, Aaron Rashepi, Alex Ivanov and Alicia Barrett. So that is your field for this fourth race of the day for the X30 Juniors, qualifying Heat AD. The winner of this, of course, manages to get 0 points. Second gets 2, third gets 3, fourth gets 4, and etc., etc., etc. And that is basically to give you a golfing score at the end. It's like golf. You want as little score as possible. The lowest grid positions, the lowest scores of the entirety of the heats weekend battles shall see the drivers come through, and whoever has the least points, if anybody manages to have 0 for winning all of their heats, then they will have the pleasure of starting from the very front of the grid. It's a tough battle here at Mariembourg. It always has been, but even in the X30 European Series, there are some great drivers to race against as they battle for position. We're going to see some really interesting racers from all over Europe and even further afield into North and South America, into Asia and Australasia to battle around this Mariembourg circuit. And the temperatures are sky high here, 28 degrees Celsius around the circuit here at Mariembourg, and that is an incredibly tall order. It's actually getting to me a little bit, the heat. Even in my air-conditioned commentary box, I'm getting very drowsy in the heat, and it's very easy to do. The drivers have got to stay well hydrated. They've got to keep the fluid going, and this is going to be a really interesting battle for the drivers out there. So they've got to work very hard. They've got to push together, and we will see if there's going to be some interesting battles to talk about for the rest of the evening's entertainment. The racing continuing on in the following order of the schedule. We have the juniors out there now. After this race is finished, it will then move on to the minis, and then we'll have the super shifters, following by the seniors in qualifying heats 7 and 8. And then we will have qualifying heats for the juniors, their last 2 races before tomorrow. The minis once more, the super shifters, and then 2 more heats for the seniors. And that is how that will work out. Very busy stuff. Good work from everybody around the scenes here at RGMMC, the IAME European Championship season. We've seen 4 fantastic classes. We're still seeing them, of course, for the X30 Mini, Junior, Senior and Super Shifter. Great racing throughout from these guys. If you are watching via the Telemundi Media live stream, if there's a particular driver you're rooting for, if you want to ask a question, or if you want to find out a little bit more about the championship, all you have to do is type your message into the YouTube stream there via Telemundi Media, and we'll do our best to accommodate. I'm also hoping over the course of the day we'll have a few more drivers to talk to. Obviously, they've got their own race programs to focus on, and that makes them very busy. So we'll see how the drivers do. But it is going to be very entertaining for the rest of the day here in Senior and Junior X30 in particular. But Junior X30, well, you've got the young charge Max Meyer, who basically skipped his way to the victory in race 1. Such was his incredible streak of dominance in that first couple of laps, where he managed to get the gap over 2 seconds in 1 lap, which doesn't happen very often in the dry. But once you've got that kind of pace, you're never, ever, ever going to be caught. And the gap ends up being way too insurmountable, as it was again this time. So very important points there for Max Meyer. Can he make it 2 wins out of 2? We will find out, but he's going to have a very tall job of it, because alongside him on that front row of the grid is going to be Luca Leistra, who's definitely out for some vengeance after having a little contretemps with Enzo Juliet, the number 4, and it was both of them who ended up on the road. Leistra continued going and scored as many points as he could. But otherwise, it's been a very, very interesting concept for these guys to keep battling away for position. And the way that the work is delegated over the course of the week to the different classes, you get to see a really nice mixture of different categories going wheel to wheel, depending on how the day has flown. The mechanics are now leaving the grid, as they're instructed to do so 3 minutes before the start of a race. And we'll see how the drivers cope with the sweltering hot conditions around this circuit here. It's a real struggle for me to keep up to date with. I've got 3 bottles of water up here in my commentary box, and I am still baking. Even with the air conditioning on, it's really, really quite tough. And obviously, when it's hot, it means that sleep is harder to come by in the night, so you're obviously a bit more tired. I don't know how on earth some of the more unfortunate drivers are out there, who have obviously been working hard tooth and nail to make sure the kart is ready, and then right at the last, or during the course of the weekend, they end up having a really difficult time of it, because they're trying to get back on terms of their energy levels and what have you. So it's a really exciting start to proceedings. But here in the Junior X30 second heat for these groups, A and C, it will come as no surprise to tell you that they're going to have a really exciting battle as they contest this victory. Max Meyer and Luca Leistra on the front row of the grid, from Joshua Ratikin and Alex Lloyd, with the two Polish drivers for Unique Racing, Oli Pilka and Jerzy Spinkiewicz, hoping for another good race at the office in front of Daniel Gregor and Sam Balota, Tom Leben and Victor Pardo, with Linus Jansson, Alessandro Tedesca, Lorenz de Querta, Tom Uzan, Liam McNeely, Eric Alanis Bosch, Aaron Reshepi, Alex Ivanov and Alicia Barrett. So that is your order, and that's how it's going to look as they make their way further forward. But it's tough to know exactly how these guys are going to cope with racing against these guys in the first part of the weekend, because, to be fair, they have not met each other, these two halves of the grid. Basically, you set your qualifying times, the fastest time for each driver is found out, and then you're put into a list of drivers based on which order in the qualifying you are. So multiples, it's all done by 4 groups, so they're split into 4 groups. So you have to go through the qualifying sessions and look for the 4th driver each time, every 4th driver, and that's where they will end up starting from in those various positions. So it makes things quite entertaining, very exciting, and great racing, of course, will be guaranteed as a result of it. So from their point of view, Maximus Meyer and Luca Leistra will definitely want to continue to show good form in the pole sitter Max Meyer's case, but in Luca Leistra's, he wants to redeem himself a little bit, having been caught out by circumstance in his previous heat. But he almost certainly would have been a driver contending for the victory. In fact, Chris McCarthy at Karting Magazine has told me that is my pick for the win here. Out they come onto the circuit, 28 degrees air temperature, and that makes the circuit very hot indeed. Tyres are going to be interesting. Max Meyer and Luca Leistra on the front of the grid, from Josh Radican and Alex Lloyd, Oli Pilka and Jerzy Spinkiewicz, the two poles. Then it is Daniel Gregor and Sam Balota. Tom Leben is alongside Victor Pardo La Rosa. Linus Jansson is beside Alessandro Tedesca. Then he has Lorenz de Querta, Tom Uzan, Liam McNeely, Eric Alanis Bosch, Aaron Reshepi, Alex Ivanov and Alicia Barrett. 2 laps around the circuit, of course, for the 2-lap formation rolling start, and we get to see what the drivers can do in the early phases of the race. But they're working very hard at the moment in this formation lap to get the tyres and the brakes under temperature. They will have another formation lap, of course, 2 formation laps in total, and that gives us enough of heat into the tyres as well as air through the coolant, through the engine, and I did notice there's some interesting balances of different strategies from the drivers as they come into this race, because some of them will prefer to get all of their dry tyres, just pile them up and stack them up and get them ready and send them out, whereas others like to play a little bit with their fresher compounds of tyres and just try and see how they last through the race meeting. It is one of the most important parts of the world of motorsport, of course, is tyres, because they have to be strong, they have to be durable, and of course they have to be fun to drive, and it's getting that balance that's always very, very tricky from the outset to look at it. So it will be a very interesting challenge from these guys as they battle away for position. But Max Meyer, from his point of view, just needs to do exactly what he did in race 1, get out in front and bolt away, and hope that he's done enough to hold it. Beautiful pictures around this idyllic Belgian countryside as the drivers are getting themselves ready and up to speed once again, with Max Meyer in that coveted pole position slot alongside his close rival for the weekend, at least, Luca Leistra. The Belgian local definitely seems to know his way around some of the tougher parts of the circuit here and has been making good progress to move his way further up. So Max Meyer comes out of the final turn, and I think he's going to miss the opportunity to get everybody gridded up. Well, now he's going to get them into position, but that took a long time for Max Meyer to get himself into position. Now they're going to get the long straight, and when we go, lights out, we're racing, let's go! Not a bad start from Luca Leistra. Straight through in the first corner, though. No major dramas for the man in front, Max Meyer. But there's already a bit of a tussle for second position. And they're actually trying to force and induce an overtaking move there from the man in second row of the grid. That is the 37 of Josh Radican, who has moved up into second position. No major changes there then. Daniel Gregor having to start the race from the back of the grid. There's contact, and 2 or 3 of them have gone together. We've got 2 rolled there. Well, not quite rolled, but certainly resting on top of each other. Now, one of those is Alicia Barrett, the Fusion driver. And who is the other one in the mix there? Trying to see who has not come through at the end of the first sector, because we've got two drivers in there. Now, I think the other one is one of the IAME Racing drivers. I think that's Alex Ivanov, who's gone in there. A bit of a slow sector for Tom Leben and Lorenz de Querta as well. They came together. So out in front, it is Max Meyer, who again has a big advantage. And Alex Lloyd goes up the inside and takes the second position away from Josh Radican. And through into P4, that is Sam Balota, who makes the move on Ollie Pilka. So good bit of driving from both of them. Sixth place looks to me for the moment to be Luca Leistra from Tomuzan, Tudiska, Padalorosa, Spinkovic, Janssen, McNeely, Reshepi and Alanis Bosch, with Daniel Gregor and Tom Leben both still circulating, I believe. But there's a retirement from Lorenz de Querta, Alex Ivanov and Alicia Barrett. Yellow flags off as well at that part of the circuit still, as they are trying to clear up the wreckage. But let's see how much battle we still have to come from these guys as they run through in formation. I'm trying to see if we can figure out what's happened to Lorenz de Querta's car, because I can't see him anywhere out on the circuit. He just simply didn't come through. So I wonder if he's had enough somewhere else on the circuit. But out in front it is Max Meyer. Josh Ratican working with Alex Lloyd to try and close up on the race leader. But the young man from San Miguel de Salinas is doing a fantastic job, as he did in race one once again. But third place, a really strong challenge coming from your man in third. Josh Ratican in front of Alex Lloyd and ahead of Sam Balota as they continue to battle for position. Sam Balota looking really confident here in the dry at Mariembourg. He seems to suit the circuit very well. So let's see if there's going to be any more dice from him in fourth position as he starts to have a look up the inside. Ooh, just a little bit of a friendly reminder. I do want to get the overtake done, mate, so I am going to push as hard as I can. They come down to the far side of the circuit once again. And it's 2x2 hurrah once more. We've got a battle for first, a battle for third, and a battle for fifth. And those six karts are way out in front of the rest, led by Victor Pardo, Luca Leistra, Liam McNeely, Linus Janssen, and Alessandro Tedesca. So some good battles there. Luca Leistra has dropped down to 11th place now, actually, so I'm not sure what was the cause of that. And Jezek Spinkovic has yet to come through as well. So I wonder if Jezek Spinkovic, the pole, has had an off at the final couple of corners, because I can't see him having come through. So I think that is game over, isn't it, for Jezek Spinkovic, who is a long way back the pole. I'm not entirely sure what it was that's cost him dear. But it's going to be very interesting, nevertheless, to see how the drivers continue. Now, Jezek Spinkovic is listed now as a retirement. So his strong start up on the third row alongside his teammate Ollie Pilka, sadly coming to nothing. But out in front, we still have Max Meyer from Alex Lloyd as they continue to charge away. Now, who's that first across the line? That is Lloyd. Meyer's down to second. Make that down to third, because through into third places comes Sam Balota. And Josh Radican's going to try and come forward as well. Never so much as a rest easy moment for the man in third position, Max Meyer. And here comes Radican down the inside. Radican takes the place. So a good bit of driving there from Ratican Racing's. That is Josh Ratican in the Coles Racing kart, I should say. I don't know why I said the Ratican Racing team. He doesn't have his own race team yet. 4 laps down and 4 to go. But this is going to be a good one for Alex Lloyd. Second place, Sam Balota on home soil, trying to work his magic again. So they come up the far side. And this is looking pretty strong for Alex Lloyd. He needed to get a victory on the board. He didn't have the greatest of weekends over at Salbris, but from his point of view, a win would definitely help the confidence as he comes through. Once again, still in front of his closest opposition for the house, and that is the number 69 of Sam Balota, who once again has a look to try and come through on the inside line. And it hasn't quite happened yet. So there you go. Difficulties in this particular battle, with Lloyd is leading. Second place, Sam Balota. Third, Ratican. Fourth is the former leader of this race, Maximus Meyer. Then it is Tom Luzan and Ollie Pilka. So Tom Luzan doing a grand job in this first part of the race, having worked his way up 9 places. Tom Luzan finally seems to have a kart underneath him where he can do his very best as a driver, and not have to worry too much about the implications of power or whatever. So onto the far side they go once more. And Alex Lloyd is still your race leader. Really exciting stuff from here. And he's going to get a bit of a challenge with 2 laps to go, I can tell you. This is what they've been waiting for. Down the main straight and into the lead is going to go Sam Balota. But no, because Alex Lloyd has moved to cover the move. So it's not going to happen after all. Third place, though. Josh Radican having another crack at it and closing up. That's one of the fusion carts. So that looks to me... I'm not entirely sure who that is. We'll double check as they come round. It's the 19 and the 66 that were together there on track when it happened. And that, of course, is Max Meyer, the 19. And I'm not entirely sure who the other one is, unfortunately. But this 5-cart scrap for the lead, going very well indeed on the penultimate lap. And is there going to be somebody who can outsmart this battle in position? Because Alex Lloyd has already lost the lead. Sam Balota's taken that. Josh Ratigan's taken second from Alex Lloyd. 4th position, Max Meyer. 5th is Tom Uzan. And then 6th place is Ollie Pilker, who's not far away from it, but it is going to be tough. So how on earth is this going to conclude? We're going to find out, because Lloyd is prepared to work with the man in front of him to try and make a move through. Is he going to be able to get up into 2nd position on the back of our race leader, Sam Balota? Josh Radican still there in P2, trying to cut the mustard at the moment as he comes through. 4th position, a good drive this from Max Meyer to just solidly bank some points, but not too many points. This is the point in the race when you really don't want any. So through they come then on this final lap, and it's going to be Sam Balota who gets the victory in front of Josh Ratican. A great result it's going to be, and Sam Balota has done his homework beautifully and in fine style. Josh Ratican hanging on to 2nd position there in front of Lloyd, Max Meyer, Tom Uzan and Ollie Pilker, all of them very close together. Hard to pick a winner, but out of the final turn, the winner's going to come this time for Sam Balota. The Belgian comes through, and here in Mariembourg, it's a win for Sam Balota. 2nd place is... Oh, what was that for the line? I didn't see who that was. Who was that for 2nd place? They've given it to Max Meyer. Max Meyer's got it by 0.011. Goodness me, that's close. So, Max Meyer gets 2nd over the line from Josh Radican. Tom Uzan is 4th from Alex Lloyd, Ollie Pilker, Linus Janssen, Alessandro Tudiska, Liam McNeely and Luca Lystra. That's your top 10. So things got very exciting very quickly there. 11th place for Victor Pardo La Rosa. Daniel Gregor is 12th. Aaron Reshepi is 13th. Then it is Tom Leben and Eric Alanis Bosch. And then the only retirements from the races we know are Jozek Spinkovic. We had retirements from Lequerta Laurens, Alex Ivanov and Alicia Bennett. So it's Balota who takes the win from Meyer and Ratican. Uzan, Lloyd, Pilker and Janssen. Then it is Tudiska, McNeely, Lystra, Pardo and Gregor, Reshepi, Leben and Alanis Bosch. And then the 4 retirements, Jozek Spinkovic, Lequerta Laurens, Alex Ivanov and Alicia Barrett. So that's great racing then from the X30 qualifying heat AD. And that puts our X30s to bed for just a short while longer, as we will now move on to the next brigade. And that comes from the Minis. So the Minis always give us great entertainment value. And they will be up next, right here at the circuit here at the Karting de Fania International Raceway at Mariembourg.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingham and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jake Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
You're listening to Race Day Live on Downforce UK, brought to you by Clapham North MOT, Motorsport Days Live, Stopwatch Hospitality and Trade Price Cars.
So now we go back into the racing for the X30 Minis, and they are going to give us some great entertainment, just as they did earlier on. It was Kimi Abraham who came through to take the victory from pole position on home soil. He knows this place very well indeed, and Kimi Abraham will be pumped up to do exactly the same thing again for the 2nd time of asking. He's put in a very strong performance in that first race. All he has to do effectively is just do it again. do the same thing exactly the same way, and he will come around with another victory. But Kimi Abraham knows he's going to have a tough bit of pressure from Sergio Ruiz once again alongside him on that front row of the grid. On the second row, he'll have Nathan Otting, the Dutchman, who very nearly robbed him of the victory in that one in the early stages. Alongside him on the grid is going to be the 922, that is Miguel Pero Lozoraga. And then third row of the grid will go to the Estonian Ruben Volt alongside the Spaniard Lucas Fluscherkross. And then we have the two Belgians in there on the fourth row. Remember how Patrice Kovalevsky and Gabriel Bektas both managed to get themselves up in the top 5 in that first race earlier on. It will be great to see if they can move their way further forward again. William Go, the Filipino, finds himself on the fifth row of the grid alongside Amaury Mertens. Then Alejandro Melendez starts from 11th alongside Bogdan Iordache, and then Angelo Melli, who had his times disallowed from qualifying, will start from 13th place. But a lot of those drivers towards the tail end were able to make up some good positions as things progressed. X30 Minis has always been a very interesting one because you've got so many different drivers. For my money, there are 7 drivers on that grid who can take the victory in X30 Minis every single time. And they've got to work incredibly hard each time to get that little tiny bit of a percentage away from each driver. You've got Kimi Abraham in the lead of the qualifying session from earlier on, but he took a really good victory and he had an awful lot of pressure from Ruben Volt behind him to make that even happen in the first place. Then you've got that strong Spanish contingent on that side of the grid. You've got the likes of Sergio Ruiz, Miguel Pero Lozoraga, and just behind them you have Lucas Fluscherkross as well. He's really started to get a little bit more speed. Missing Salbris, I think, really hurt his developmental pace, but he's come here into Mariembourg and he's definitely going faster, which is great to see. He's sharing that third row of the grid with Ruben Volt, who was very strong at the start on the inside line, the Estonian, and very nearly took the victory. The way things currently are, Ruben Volt's consistency and always being solidly in the top 5 is going to steer him in good stead, because at the moment he is the most consistent, the most rhythmic, and the most metronomic of the X30 drivers out there. Then those two Belgians, Patrice Kovalevsky and Gabriel Bektas, both of them went as far as 5th place at one point in that event, so they will hope to be able to get back there as well if they can. And then, of course, you have William Go, the Filipino racer, who is being managed in his career in 2018 by the once great rival of Lewis Hamilton, Colin Brown, who took a World Championship title off him, I seem to recall, back in the year 2000. Amaury Mertens is alongside William Go on that 5th row of the starting grid. And then we finish it off with the Salbris final winner, Alejandro Melendez, and then Bogdan Iordache, the Spaniard, alongside him. And then the local man, Angelo Melli, will start off in 13th position by courtesy of the fact that his times from qualifying were sadly disallowed. So to give you an idea of how things are currently going to look for the remainder of the day then, we've got a very long schedule of races, which of course for you guys watching at home as spectators, it gives you so much incredible motor racing to watch over the course of the day. And if you've had enough of the F1 qualifying session and you've just joined us, well, a very good call, because we've had some cracking action so far. 12 of the races of the 33 this weekend have gone by. So we are now past 1/3 distance of the race action. And the minis are going to be here for about 10 to 15 minutes or so on track. Then we'll get the super shifters out at 5 o'clock local time. That's going to be a really interesting challenge for them to keep up the fight, because the super shifters were very fast earlier on. They're always very fast. They're the gearbox carts. But the X30 Minis have obviously got to go a long way into the race. Their last race, the X30 Minis, kicks off at 6:40 p.m. local time. That's very late. And to be fair, I suppose it probably isn't too bad a problem on the continent, but they've obviously got to keep themselves highly energized. They've got to keep themselves up to speed. They need to be in a strong position race-wise. They need to keep up their lap times and their composure. Everything needs to be just on point. And that's always going to be very tricky to achieve in what is already a very closely competitive season. So with the X30 Minis there on the starting grid once again, we'll have to see how well they can cope in this next heat. We've only had one of the X30 Minis come through, of course, one of their heats earlier on. So let's see how things will currently look going into the second of the heats. Basically, you start each of your heats in X30 Minis when there's not a group of 2 or 3 groups of karts and you all have to run in similar guise to each other. then effectively you have to be in a strong position right from the start. You're in a position basically where you have to keep in that grid position that you earned from qualifying all the way through. So you have to stay in that position throughout the first 3 heats. But then, of course, you score points based on where you finish, and you score as many points very nearly as you have finished in the race. So if you are first position, you don't get 1 point, you get no points at all, because that's an extra bonus for winning the race. You get 2 points for second, 3 for third, 4 for fourth, 5 for fifth, and so on and so on and so on. And of course, as you get that down, you need a very low score, just like in golf. At the end of the qualifying heats, whoever has the lowest score will go into pole position for the first of the pre-finals, and then so on and so on. And it's the pre-final and the final that are the only classes that give us the championship points. So that's where you get to really realise what these guys are actually doing come the pre-final and final. But all this preliminary work beforehand has to come first. They have to put in this effort. They have to work hard to get these karts up to speed. It's a long process in the weekend, but it's great fun to watch and really edge-of-the-seat stuff. So let's see how these guys go. It's going to be a really exciting run for the drivers here at Mariembourg, and they have already been putting on a pretty spectacular show in the early phase of the weekend. But now we'll see if Kimi Abraham can make it 2 wins out of 2 on the Mariembourg circuit, which is effectively a very similar story to this circuit being in their backyard. Kimi Abraham knows it very well indeed now and has driven all sorts of machinery here in the past and is obviously very, very fond of it. But let's see how things currently go. Well, the drivers are now going to wait for the time to tick down to 0. Once it has done so, then we will be ready to go out. Yes, we are now. So as the drivers head out onto the circuit, we can talk you one more time through that starting grid. Belgium's Kimi Abraham lines up alongside the Spaniard Sergio Ruiz, with the Dutchman Nathan Ottink alongside Miguel Perro-Lizarraga in the second row. Ruben Volt and Lucas Flusser-Cross will line up on the third row from the 2 Belgians, Patrice Kovalevski and Gabriel Brektas, I should say. William Go and Amaury Mertens are on the 5th row. Then Alejandro Melendez and Brea is there in 12th position. That's Bogdan Ianut Brea. And then alongside him, it is going to be Angelo Melli for Belgium. 6 laps of racing around this circuit, and it's a very tough circuit as well. Let's be fair, it is a very brutal course. And the drivers obviously having to work very hard around the Mariembourg circuit. 1,366 metres, 28 degrees Celsius. And obviously it's a tarmac circuit, so there is absolutely no shade to be had. They've obviously got to work very hard from the off. But let's see how things will progress for the drivers as they get themselves into position. Now it's 2 formation laps as always, so the drivers will come through past our position, ready for the start of their next race. They will have to work quite impressively hard to get there to the finish line after 6 laps of driving. So let's see how these guys are going to cope. So Kimi Abraham, and then alongside him on the grid, of course, it is going to be a strong challenge from Sergio Ruiz, as it has been so far in all of the X30 mini races, and it will remain that way until tomorrow when we find out who's scored the least points over the course of the weekend. But Kimi Abraham runs around in the lead of the formation lap here, with Nathan Ottink, who will start on the 2nd row of the grid just directly behind him, tucks into position, as to does the man who is there in 5th position on the grid by rights, having had a really strong run, and that is Ruben Volt. The Spanish contingent is still here, though. The cavalry with Sergio Ruiz, Miguel Perro-Lizarraga and Lucas Flusser-Cross. So let's see how these guys go. It's going to be really entertaining stuff and a great battle for them as they run in formation around the circuit. They will give it their all, and good gusto they will get too as they go into the S's. And now they will get themselves ready for the action. Right, here they come out of the final turn. Put themselves into position. They're in the tram lines now. And we are ready to go racing. Yes, we go racing that time. No, it looks like the red lights are still on, actually. I think the red lights are still on there. So I'm not sure that they are going to... That's a clean start. I think they're going to be made to go around again. So the X30 Minis have gone around. Oh, they had an off as well, because I think there were a few drivers there who thought we were racing. William Go. And I can still see the red lights on the stand in front of me, so I don't think we have started the race effectively. We have... the time is ticking, but I can still see a red light on the top end there. So I don't know if that's going to be a restart or not. I'm just trying to keep an eye on it. They think they're racing, and so do the timing screens. So, okay, fair enough. It looks like we are. So Kimi Abraham from the start of the race, it was, but now Sergio Ruiz and Miguel Berrozalaga have come through into first and second places. So they will continue things on. Third place for Nathan Otting. Fourth position, I think that is still Kimi Abraham. As they come across the line this time by... Oh, no, sorry. Kimi Abraham is still there, tucked up in third position. Tried to move his way forward. Okay, so my apologies there. I thought the red light was on the top of the gantry. That's why I thought we were going round again. Kimi Abraham on the back of the two FA racing carts. 1 lap completed, 5 to go, and Miguel Berrozalaga is right on the back of his Spanish teammate Sergio Ruiz. Nathan Otting is behind Kimi Abraham for 4th place. 5th position, the 931 of Patrice Kovalevski, and then in 6th place, that looks like Ruben Volt. Then Angelo Melli, who's come up from the back of the grid. Gabriel Bektas, Alejandro Melendez, Bogdan Ianert-Bria, William Go, Amory Mertens, and Lucas Flusser-Cross. So that's the order at the moment as Kimi Abraham tries to come up the inside of Sergio Ruiz and doesn't make it because Miguel Berrozalaga already gone through to the lead past Ruiz. Now through comes Ruiz into second, and through comes Nathan Otting to move up into third. But that man bit of a gap to be the cars behind him. That is Miguel Berrozalaga. Nathan Otting trying to come through on the far side as he wants to try and make his way further forward. So the battle's still raging, but we have a new leader. It's Miguel Berrozalaga. Now Nathan Otting through into second. Kimi Abraham through into third. And here comes Patrice Kovalevski. He's going to get through into 4th position. Not a lot Sergio Ruiz can do about this right now. And in fact, Kovalevski's also got the move on Kimi Abraham, but with support from Sergio Ruiz, it looks like they're both going to get back through. No, just one of them. Ruiz does not. And the 931 of Patrice Kovalevski remains in 4th position. So great racing from these guys as they continue to charge forward. Miguel Berrozalaga doing a great job in position at the moment as he continues to battle away. Nathan Otting in 2nd place. Sergio Ruiz is now down into 5th position. I think that's where he is. So they make their way through the S's. No calamities, no mess-ups at the moment from the drivers other than what we saw on the first lap, with a couple of drivers falling off there at turns 2 and 3. There's that pair of right-hand apexes. But here they come again. Miguel Berrozalaga leads the way. Second, Nathan Otting. Here comes the move from Kimi Abraham and Patrice Kovalevski. Having both got through, Kovalevski's making a break for 3rd position. He's not going to get there. Kimi Abraham's not going to let that happen. Then it's Ruben Volt and Sergio Ruiz. 7th position up for grabs as well because we've got Gabriel Bektas battling away with Alejandro Melendez. And then in 9th position, that is the 914 of, the 934, I should say, of Angelo Melli from Bogdan Ianert-Bria, William Go, Omari Mertens, and Lucas Flusser-Cross. So the racing continues unabated on the far side of the circuit. The drivers are still getting an awful lot of run for their money here as they battle away for position. But it is going to be a tight one. That much is for certain as the drivers continue to push around the circuit, just trying to get that little bit more from the kart. They come off of the bottom turn and back up the order once again. Things are looking very sweet and rosy if you are these guys up front because you've got no drivers to hold you up. 2 laps to go and a bit of a race to go for now. 4 laps down, 2 to go here in the Mini X30s. And is there going to be 1 or 2 more death-defying manoeuvres? Well, it looks like there's going to be at least one because down at the back there, tucked up behind Alejandro Melendez, that was Angelo Melli making his way on the inside of Gabriel Bektas and gets through. So now those two are squabbling away for position as well, which makes it a little bit more interesting as they continue to battle away for position. But on this penultimate lap, we are seeing some changes still in the top 3 because that's Abraham on the inside of Nathan Otting, and he's got through in a 2nd place. But has that done enough to give Miguel Berrozalaga the race victory? At the moment, you would suggest yes, because Miguel seems very composed at the moment and seems to be absolutely on his A game in this early part of the season. He was strong in Valencia for the Winter Cup. He was strong for round 1 here in Belgium. I think there's a lot to come from that boy in years to come. As over the line they come, and Miguel Perro Rosaraga still leads as they go into the last lap. Kimi Abraham now second in front of Nathan Otting. Then it is Kovalevsky, Volt, Ruiz, Melendez, Meli, and then William Go in front of Bogdan Ianubria, Amaury Mertens, and Lucas Flusha-Cross. And that is a very defensive line from the man in second place, Kimi Abraham. Clearly not convinced of the fact that he can close up on the man in front and just trying to move to cover second position. But Miguel Perro Rosaraga doesn't think his chickens are counted yet. He isn't backing off any as he comes through. The last thing you want to do is lose a race on the last lap when there's already an awful lot of stake. But Miguel Perro Rosaraga still pushing forward. Kimi Abraham and Nathan Otting trying against hope to chase him down. And they are close enough, but not for the overtaking move. One more lap or so, and there might have been a very different result to this one. Out of the final turn, it is going to be the Spaniard, Miguel Perro Rosaraga, who once again is victorious in brilliant style. Perro Rosaraga gets the win. Second place for Kimi Abraham. Good points bagged from the Belgian talent. Nathan Otting is third from Patrice Kovalevsky in a valiant fourth place. Ruben Volt home for fifth position in front of Sergio Ruiz. Alejandro Melendez comes up to seventh again from Angelo Meli. And then we have Gabriel Boctas, William Go, Bogdan Ianubria, and Amaury Mertens in front of Lucas Flusha-Cross. So all incredibly excited stuff as they give us some top quality entertainment there. 6 laps around the circuit, 8.1 kilometres in total, and it's Miguel Perro Rosaraga, the Spaniard, who is the fastest man of the circuit here in this race and takes the victory forthwith. Kimi Abraham second from Otting, Kovalevsky, Volt, Ruiz, Melendez, Meli, Boctas, Go, Bria, and Mertens. And of course, what that means is that right at the very back of the grid, we should also have Lucas Flusha-Cross in 13th place. So that is the way that qualifying stacks up. The drivers are just going around on their formation laps, so they will go around one more time. But Alejandro Melendez has got a problem. For the second race in a row, looking up towards turn 8, Alejandro Melendez has a problem with the kart, and it is not going anywhere. So he's out of the kart, stationary, up at turn 10. This is an absolute disaster for Alejandro Melendez as they're trying to get his kart started again. Now, where are the karts at the moment? I can't see where they are. They've obviously been sent out onto the circuit, but I have not seen them come back through. So are they going to be... have they been brought back into the pits again? This is very surprising. Several karts went out onto the circuit. Oh, that's, of course, the result from the last one. But Alejandro Melendez, again, having broken down at the end of the race. So that's the second time of asking. Alejandro Melendez broken down. So that is absolutely disastrous from Melendez's point of view, having again worked his way forward. The car seems to run perfectly well when it's up to speed, but when he backs off after a race distance, the car just switches off by the look of it. So it's a victory in the end then for Miguel Perro Rosaraga from Kimi Abraham and Nathan Otting, Patrice Kovalevsky and Ruben Volt, Sergio Ruiz, Alejandro Melendez, Angelo Meli, Gabriel Boctas and William Go from Bogdan Ianubria, Amaury Mertens and Lucas Flusha-Cross. That is the finishing order for the X30 Minis. And next up in the realm, it is going to be the X30 Super Shifters. The rocket ships will be back in action in a moment.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingham and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jake Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
You're listening to Race Day Live on Downforce UK, brought to you by Clapham North MOT, Motorsport Days Live, Stopwatch Hospitality, and Trade Price Cars.
So once again, it is X30 Super Shifter time, and after the previous race we had, the battle between Kevin Luddy and Sten-Dorian Pidemargi, it should be another fascinating contest as those two drivers slug it out for the victory once again. And to be fair, we had some pretty exciting battles from them last time. We're going to see some more from them as the racing continues. The grid will be exactly the same as the previous heat, as they all will be at the pre-qualifying heat stage. And it is Sten-Dorian Pidemargi and Kevin Luddy who line up on that front row of the starting grid, having already had a pretty busy day at the office. Casper Corjus and Barry Pullinger of the Dan Holland Racing Team find themselves on the second row of the grid, with Nico Rohrwasser and Carlos Leon on the third row from Thierry Del Rey and Philippe Siever, Michel Biffiger and Doriano Marchucci, with Lionel Chalet and Joao Diaz. Just to give you a bit of an update actually from earlier on, because we were watching the Super Shifter races, and at the start, if you were with us earlier, you may remember that rather spectacular starting getaway from Philippe Siever, who launched off the grid and split his way through the middle, came out of the tram lines, as of course you're allowed to do on the starts now in the 2018 Championship. The European rules making a slight tweak on that front, but incredibly, Philippe Siever's majestic start, he just charged his way through the middle of the field and got himself a really strong start. But unfortunately, it has now been ruled that that was a jump start. So I guess a penalty has been added on, or at least will be added on to his race result. But Kevin Luddy got the job done for the Swiss contingent out in front in the first race, with Sten-Dorian Pidemargi, the Estonian, relatively close to him, but definitely nowhere near as close as he wanted to be. And I'm hoping that this is actually going to be the championship fight for the 2018 season in the IAME X30 European Series, because we've got these two drivers very, very closely matched. Here in qualifying in particular, they have been absolutely on their A game, and it's really, really positive to see these guys pushing with absolute gusto here at Mariembourg, especially when they are so evenly matched. You've got to remember, look back to the qualifying sessions that have set the grid for these three heats, and both of their fastest lap times were a 53.787. That is to the thousandth of a second, and I'm not sure I can remember the last time that's happened in qualifying for the European Championships. So really, really good to see. But then, of course, we've got a similar story in the juniors with two of the drivers there. The seniors, I should say. Both of those drivers there, Eli Godstein and Joe Turney, also managing to get fastest laps to within the same thousandth of a second as each other, which is quite an incredible tally when you think about it. But we are not too far away now from the start of this race. We've got another 2.5 hours or so of race action in front of us, because we have the Super Shifters, the 14th race of the weekend. Then we have 2 more heats for the seniors, 2 more heats for the juniors, the Mini, the Super Shifter, and then 2 more heats for the seniors. And that wraps things up over the course of the day. Very hot, very sweltering. I'm hoping everybody around the circuit remember their sun lotion, because you're definitely going to have needed it by the end of this weekend. I know that sounds a little bit late to give you a warning about it, but maybe you can rush out and send somebody down to the nearest Carrefour or something like that to go and grab some suntan lotion. Very, very tough part of the weekend this, as all of the drivers and teams are putting themselves under severe pressure to get those victories and as many different points as they possibly can from the weekend as well. They have to be absolutely on their A game. 4 minutes to go till the start of this X30 Super Shifter second qualifying heat. The positions on the starting grid exactly as they were for the first race of the weekend. And that is Sten-Dorian Pidemargi on the inside line and Kevin Luddy on the front row alongside him, from Casper Corjus, Barry Pullinger, Nico Rohrwasser, Carlos Leon, Thierry Del Rey, Philippe Siever, Michel Biffiger, Doriano Marchucci, Lionel Chalet, and Joao Diaz. Now, one of the things I really like about this championship, of course, is that not only is it very different from the others in that they don't do a rolling start in Super Shifters, it is all a standing start, which is very, very exciting to watch. Not only that, but also the start being a standing start, it's very spectacular because it's all about timing and reflexes as to how you get off the grid. So it's one of those classes where you're always going to get a bit of a squabble for position because the drivers are just trying to get the kart up to speed at that point. And it's all very fast and frenetic. So we'll see how the drivers cope with it regardless. But we're going to see some really exciting battles from the drivers here at the Mariembourg circuit, the Karting de Fagnes International Raceway, just outside the town of Mariembourg in the southernmost part of Belgium. not too far away from the site of a Formula One racetrack. No, not Spa, not Zolder. It was a racetrack that ran on the streets of the nearby town of Chimay, and it last held Formula One racing back in 1954, and when it was the Crown Prince of Thailand, Prince Bira, who took the victory in what was known as the Grand Prix de Frontières on the streets of Chimay. That event ran all the way to the 1970s, the very last event being 1972, won by the late great British superstar David Purley, who took the victory in the 1970s. The 72 race, I think he was in one of the Brabham Formula 3 cars when he took that victory. But the Chimay Street Circuit, not far away from here. It does occasionally get used again for classic motor racing festivals, and they do sometimes use the short configuration of the circuit for motorbike racing. So there's an awful lot of motorsport passion in this particular part of the world, as the Super Shifters are about to head out onto the circuit to do their 2 formation laps, and we'll get them up to speed. And it's going to be really impressive to see these gearbox karts run around the circuit in fine fettle and strong formation. And there's all sorts of things that can happen in this one. Let's not forget that in race 1, Thierry Del Rey managed to fight his way forward from the 4th row of the starting grid to break into the top 3. If he can have a cracking start this time, he may even be able to grab himself a victory. And on home soil, that would be a wonderful achievement for Thierry Del Rey. A very top-line level racing driver. Thierry's been racing for quite a long time now. And he was telling me a little bit about himself pre-race. He was, of course, runner-up in the X30 Super Shifter World Final last year. He's been the Shifter World Champion twice over in 12 and 14, and he's been the European Champion as well back in 12 and 13. So the 32-year-old from Heers in Belgium has had a pretty strong start to his weekend, fighting his way up from 7th on the initial grid to 3rd place. If he can do that again, then he's definitely looking for a strong performance as they send them out of the pits. And now 2 laps of rolling formation for the X30 Super Shifters. After the 2 laps, they will not continue on rolling around. They will actually bring them back into the pit, into the start-finish straight, and they will form up on the grid for a standing start. They're the only class in the weekend that does this. Pitamagi and Ludi on the front row from Corjus and Pullinger, Rorbassa and Leon, Del Rey and Siva, Biffiger and Marchucci, then it is Lionel Chalet and Joao Diaz. That's the 12-card field as they prepare for action for the second time this weekend. The X30 Super Shifters, 11 laps and 15 kilometres of the Mariembourg circuit. So as the drivers get themselves around the circuit just to explore the track once more, be very interesting to see how these drivers cope with the positions around them. They will have to fight very hard in the early stages, of course, because that's when they can gain most of their time on some of their oppositions, getting a good start, getting those first few corners nailed very early. You can start at... But we had battles all the way to the line at Salbris. Lower positions. I think Stentori and Pitamagi pretty much goose-stepped his way to the victory in Salbris in all of the races, all 5 of them. He took the clean sweep in the qualifying heats, and then each of the pre-finals. Never really lost the lead over the course of the weekend. So Stentori and Pitamagi already looking set as the championship favourite after his dominant performance at Salbris. But here at Mariembourg, it is the second round of 4. After this, of course, we go to Wackersdorf in Germany in July, and then finish the season at the Siete Laghi circuit, the 7 Lakes at Castelletto in Italy, not too far away from Milan. And of course, that is Ferrari country. So the drivers are going to bring their karts back onto the main starting grid, and they will form up in their grid slots, Formula One style, on the starting grid. And we're going to get some really exciting race action from them when they get underway. Even if Philip Siever's start was a jump start, it was truly spectacular to watch, and that is the kind of thing you can get from this particular category on a regular basis. You get all sorts of action from these guys, and they are never boring. The drivers just practicing their launches as they will get into their grid positions now. Stendorian Pitamagi and Kevin Luddy on the front row. Casper Corjus and Barry Pullinger of Great Britain. Then, of course, it is Nico Rohrwasser and Carlos Leon, Thierry Del Rey, Philip Siever, Misha Biviga, Doriano Marchucci, Lionel Chalet and Joao Diaz. The carts are all in position. The green flag is at the back. And we're going to go racing this time. 5 lights are on and there's a big jump start from 2 of them. That's Pullinger and Leon got a start there too far forward. And now their racing is on. But that's 2 jump starts straight away that I spotted. Out in front, it is Stendorian Pitamagi. Kevin Luddy got a terrible start. In fact, is that Kevin Luddy at the back? I think that's Kevin Luddy in last place, is it? As they come through. My apologies, that is Joao Diaz. But Luddy is still there towards the sharp end. But a very tricky start to the race then from the drivers in the first part of the action. And Kevin Luddy is definitely not in the top 3 anymore, is he? He's there in position. Well, Carlos Leon has jumped through to second position after what has got to be considered a jump start. So I have a feeling there's going to be a penalty handed out, unfortunately, to Carlos Leon. And I think he wasn't the only one who crept forward. I think the Brit Barry Pullinger for the Down Holland Racing team also crept forward a little before the lights, and that's the difficulty. So away they go. And it is Leon going for the lead on the inside of Stendorian Pitamagi, who does not let him get through. Goodness me. Carlos Leon, fastest lap of the race, that first lap, courtesy of that incredible start. But he's now holding station, Stendorian Pitamagi. Carlos Leon is trying to get through, and it's not happening. The 615 is in third place. That's Rohrwasser. So it's Corjus in fourth. Del Rey is in fifth. Luddy is in sixth place from his original starting point. Barry Pullinger in seventh. Doriano Marchucci is 8th. Michel Biviga is 9th. Lionel Chalet is 10th from Joao Diaz and Philip Siever. So Philip Siever, who was the one who dropped all the way down the order and has now fought his way past Joao Diaz. So Philip Siever having an off there in the final sector of the lap, I guess, and has now had to fight his way back in front of the Portuguese star Joao Diaz. Here comes the battle again. Carlos Leon on the back of Stendorian Pitamagi. Pitamagi hangs on to it. Up the inside, that is a move for third position from Casper Corjus, getting the place on Nico Rohrwasser. So Rohrwasser in fourth position. Fifth place is Thierry Del Rey. Then in sixth it is Kevin Luddy. Seventh place is Barry Pullinger for the Down Holland Racing Team. Eighth place, it is the 623 still of Marchucci. So that's Doriano Marchucci. Then it's Bifiga, Lionel Chalet, Philip Siever and Joao Diaz. But out in front, it is now... Is that in the lead of the race? Just trying to double check and make sure it is. No, it's Stendorian Pitamagi still leading. In the lead. But on the far side, it is now Carlos Leon trying to charge after him to grab that victory off him. But I get the sneaky suspicion that Carlos Leon is going to be in front of the stewards to explain his start for that one. So Carlos Leon is doing his best to move forward. In second place, Carlos Leon. Third is Casper Corjus. Nico Rohrwasser is fourth. Thierry Del Rey is fifth from Luddy, Pullinger, Marchucci, Bifiga, Chalet, Siever and Diaz. Well, Thierry Del Rey is getting very hungry on the back of Nico Rohrwasser. He wants to move into fourth position and certainly doesn't want to wait around to do it either. Philip Siever, meanwhile, has caught up to the back of Lionel Chalet. And I don't think it's going to be too long before he makes mincemeat of the Belgian as he comes through on the inside line for the hairpin, for the chicane. He's not quite in position there, so he's going to have to wait a little bit longer for the opportunity to open up. A good exit out of turn 16 and back on the power, and a good line through those final S's onto the main straight. It is doable. Up the inside, that is Thierry Del Rey making the move on Nico Rohrwasser, and that's enough for Kevin Luddy to get through as well. So Del Rey is up to fourth, Luddy is up to fifth. So they are working in unison very nearly to go through the field together. But we're not done yet, and certainly for Stendorian Pitamagi, it's looking like the beautiful sounds of domination are very much in the offing. Then it is Carlos Leon. Third position is Corjus. Then it's Del Rey, Luddy, Rohrwasser, Pullinger. And then in eighth position, it remains Doriano Marchucci from Bifiga, Chalet, Siever and Diaz. Third position battle is no longer existent because Casper Corjus has pulled out a little bit of a gap on these guys. And when I say a little bit of a gap, you could probably fit a limousine and a half in that gap. So it is still relatively close, but in karting terms, he's not sweating. Let's put it that way. Is up for grabs then. Fourth position, is up for grabs for Thierry Del Rey, Kevin Luddy, Nico Rohrwasser, Barry Pullinger, And I'm fairly sure the other full guy in that equation is Doriano Marchucci, with Michel Bifiga in there as well. A bit of a gap back to Lionel Chalet and to Philippe Siever. But Joao Diaz, well, Joao Diaz is having a good run in 12th position. Unfortunately, his lap times are getting better and better. That's all he can hope for at the moment. But Stendorian Pirimagi leads the way on what is now the half-distance lap in the X30 Super Shifter second heat of the weekend. The first one was Kevin Luddy, who took the first win of the weekend away from the man who just about beat him on countback through the practice sessions to pole position. And that, of course, is Stendorian Pirimagi, who now leads the way very comfortably indeed here. So Stendorian Pirimagi having a good run. As they come off the turn this time, he leads the way beautifully. Second position, dropping back. That's Carlos Leon. Now we're going to see some good runs here because Casper Corjus is closing up on the second place man, Carlos Leon. So let's see what he can do. Fourth position, that is Thierry Del Rey. Fifth place, that looks to me to be Philippe Siever once again, is it? No, my apologies. That is Kevin Luddy. So Kevin Luddy. Philippe Siever has moved up a couple of places, hence my confusion. The 6-12 has now got behind his teammate of Michel Bifiga. So Philippe Siever having in race 1, nowhere really to be seen in race 2. But out in front, it is Stendorian Pirimagi. He's doing a grand job out in performance. And so this is a really, really good performance from them all as they battle away for position. I'm just wondering if it's going to take one or two more drivers to break the deadlock when we get to the final couple of laps of the race. 7 laps completed now as Stendorian Pirimagi now has a lead of over a second. In fact, it's nearer to 1.7 seconds, 2 seconds nearly over Carlos Leon and his rival in this race. And in third position, Casper Corjus, then Thierry Del Rey, Kevin Luddy, Nico Rohrwasser, Barry Pullinger, Doriano Marchucci, Michel Bifiga, Philippe Siever, Lionel Chalet and Joao Diaz. And as they continue to scrap away for positions on these last 3.5 laps of racing in the first heat of their afternoon, the second one of their weekend, but they all want to put in a very good performance and want to make sure that the drivers are ready for action at every single opportunistic moment. Well, since he took the lead, Stendorian Pirimagi has just been pacing himself out front. This is pretty masterpiece, if you ask me. Stendorian Pirimagi fastest in the second sector, personal bests in the first and third. So yes, you may have pole position. If things stay as they are, Stendorian Pirimagi, a 54.401 his last lap. It's going very well for him. Carlos Leon, I'm sure he's got to have some kind of penalty coming his way ultimately. So, I'm not the officials. We'll see what happens. But Pirimagi, Leon, Corjus, Del Rey, Luddy, Rohrwasser, Pullinger, and then we have Marchucci, Siever, Chalet, and Bifiga with Joao Davis out of the racetrack. 3 to go. It's getting tight and intense for second place as Carlos Leon has lost ground to Casper Corjus. Del Rey and Luddy are closer. And as we go into the penultimate lap, this is when we're going to start to see those drivers battling for position. They come through once again. Stendorian Pirimagi still battling at the moment. But is there going to be a chance to come through for second position? Stendorian Pirimagi is doing just what he did at Salisbury's, basically. He's got the lead and now he's checking out. So Stendorian Pirimagi tries one more time on the opposition in front of him as they begin the penultimate lap at the end of this one. It's a long track, let's not forget. An amazing and fascinating 1,366 kilometer. 1,366 meters, I should say, for the Mariembourg circuit on this penultimate lap. Stendorian Pirimagi is not even going to have an issue as he comes across the line. He will go into the final lap and the victory awaits him. Carlos Leon second from Casper Corjus in third ahead of Thierry Del Rey, Kevin Luddy, Nico Rohrwasser, Barry Pullinger, Doriano Marchucci, and then it is Philippe Siever in front of Lionel Chalet, Michel Bifiga, and if we wait a little bit longer, there is Joao Diaz, the Portuguese driver. And we're on the final lap. Stendoria and Pirimagi just cruising home. 2.6 seconds ahead of the Spaniard Carlos Leon. Not really a mission for Stendoria and Pirimagi in the end, was it? Got himself into the lead. Kept himself out of trouble at every single possible opportunity. And Stendoria and Pirimagi is going to win yet again here in the 2018 season as he comes out of the final turn. The Estonian has cracked it once more. Stendoria Pirimagi takes the checkered flag for the second heat of the weekend in Super Shifter. Carlos Leon crosses the line in second, although there's bound to be a start line infringement investigation. Casper Corjus and Thierry Del Rey from Kevin Luddy and Nico Robasser. Then Barry Pulling is in front of Doriano Marchucci. And then we have the other drivers in the mix. So it's Pirimagi from Carlos Leon, Casper Corjus, Del Rey, so Thierry Del Rey, then Kevin Luddy, Nico Robasser, Barry Pullinger, Doriano Marchucci, and then we have Philip Seaver, Charlotte Lord, and Joao Diaz. So Leonard Chalet and Michel Biffiga finishing off the grid there. But it's Pirimagi by 2.8 seconds over Carlos Leon in front of Casper Corjus, Thierry Del Rey, Kevin Luddy, Nico Robasser, Barry Pullinger, Philip Seaver, Leonard Chalet. No major dramas in the X30 Super Shifters. A very straightforward race right from the start, and that makes it nice and easy when we come to looking at the next heat on the bill, which is going to be the seniors back in action once again. Seniors heat 7 this is going to be, and it is qualifying heat. Let me do my mathematics here. I think it's going to be B and E for the senior X30 contingent. And it's going to be really amazing to see how these guys continue to put on a great show, time in and time out. But the senior X30s are up next, and it's sure to be a really exciting battle from these guys.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingram and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jake Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
You're listening to Race Day Live on Downforce UK, brought to you by Clapham North MOT, Motorsport Days Live, Stopwatch Hospitality, and Trade Price Cars.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingham and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jake Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
You're listening to Race Day Live on Downforce UK, brought to you by Clapham North MOT, Motorsport Days Live, Stopwatch Hospitality, and Trade Price Cars.
Thank you very much indeed for your patience, ladies and gentlemen, while I just get myself some energy back into me. The action and adrenaline still needs to keep flowing at full tempo here at the IAME X30 European Series at Mariembourg, and we're getting ourselves back into the action again for the X30 Seniors in what promises to be a really interesting race. From the front of the grid, we've got the two Belgians on the front row of the starting grid, Eli Goldstein and William Godefroid on that front row, with Joey van Spunteren and Niels Koelen, the Dutch contingent, on the second row of the starting grid. Then we have Sim Liedmar and Philip Varver row of the grid together, the Estonian and the Spaniard. And then we have Harry Platten of Great Britain side. On the sixth row of the starting grid together. And then we will have Noah Rouvers and Danny Bunshu, along with Rivaldo van der Westerlaken and Mark Kimber, Carlos Saval Martin and Rashid Ghanem on the ninth row of the grid. Alongside Morgan Porter is Thomas Fleming, and then Tom Nellison is Rufus Hunt, Jan-Philippe Springob and Anthony Moonen, with Juan Carlos Hernandez Ruiz, Harry Barlow, Jack Tomalin, Leonardo Paniautu completing the grid. Here they go, getting up to speed and warming up the brakes and the tyres once again in 2 laps around the circuit. That very loud buzz and hum comes from the 28 karts out there on the starting grid for this Senior X30 heat, and it's been a pretty exciting one for qualifying. Carlos Leon opposite me. Very tough race out there in the Super Shifters, bringing it home second on the road. Brilliant performance from him there, the Spaniard, and no doubt we'll hear from him a little bit later on. But some great racing to come from the Senior X30s as they continue to battle away for position. And we've already seen some pretty exciting stuff from them. Eli Goldstein and William Godefroid have been particularly strong from the start. Joey van Spunteren and Niels Koelen have already been in the fight for victories, Niels Koelen having already taken a win. Sim Liedmar, the Estonian, is in there with Philippe Varver, the Spaniard. And then we have Harry Platten and Simon Henrad, Xavier Hansem and Tony Harainen rounding out the top 10, as we mentioned. Then Sylvester Alexievas and Camille Pretot, Noah Rouvers and Danny Bunshu. The Dutchman Rivaldo van der Westerlaken will line up beside the man who won at Salbris. That is Mark Kimber, with Carlos Saval Martin and Rashid Ghanem on the ninth row of the grid. From the two Brits, Morgan Porter and Thomas Fleming. And then we have Tom Nellison and Rufus Hunt of Great Britain. And then Jan-Philippe Springob, the reigning German X30 national champion. And Anthony Moonen in the 12th row of the starting grid. From Juan Carlos Hernandez Ruiz of Spain, Harry Barlow of Great Britain. And then the two more Brits at the far end, Jack Tomalin and Leonardo Paniautu. So as the drivers get themselves up to speed for this... So I think it is the 7th heat that we are in for that particular running. Apologies for the microphone problem there. We've got it sorted now. So the seniors heat 7, this is qualifying heat. My apologies, I was a little bit mistaken before. So the seniors heat is going to be getting underway very shortly now for these drivers in the mix. And they are now getting themselves up to speed. It's going to be a very fast start as the field gets themselves up into the mix. And we are racing. Cracking start at the front. It's going to be a 3-wide brawl as the drivers make their way through. Several drivers running wide there. Mark Kimber's lost all sorts of places and times as drivers trying to charge into the braking zone at turns 2 and 3. And already up tempo in the lead of the race, it is Niels Koelen. Niels Koelen has got the best start as the field squabbles away for position. And there's a big problem. It looked as though there was something broken on the 281 kart. Now, the 281 kart there, that is Jack Tomlin. His kart just pandered into the side of Jan-Philipp Springob's, and it looked to me as though Jack Tomlin didn't have any working steering with that particular kart, and that's why he ended up dropping down the order. So a big problem there for Jack Tomlin. He just came off the curb. The kart went straight into the side of Springob's machine, and that is pretty much game over, unfortunately, from their point of view. Exactly what they didn't want, and now they're going to come through this time. So let's see how they come through on this particular occasion. A really exciting battle to come as the racers continue on. But this is going to be a very tough race for them, and they know it. Niels Kuhlen out in front of the race. Now, for some reason, my timing screen is not up to speed. Now it's come back. My apologies for that. Niels Kuhlen leading the race from Eli Goldstein and Joey van Spunteren, Sim Liedmar, Philip Vava, Simon Henrad, Tony Harainen, Harry Platten, Danny Bunshu, and Noah Rouvers in the top 10 from Carlos Saval Martin. Well, there is a fantastic battle at the front of this race with Eli Goldstein battling away with Joey van Spunteren behind him and Niels Kuhlen ahead of him, And then we've got Sim Liedmar, Philip Vava, and Simon Henrad in the mix there as well with Tony Harainen and Harry Platten, Danny Bunshu, Noah Rouvers, and then Carlos Saval Martin with Sylvester Alexievas, Xavier Hansen, Morgan Porter, Rivaldo van der Westerlegen, Thomas Fleming, and Rashid Ghanem. And up the inside, Eli Goldstein's going to take the lead there. Beautifully done as Eli Goldstein gets the place from Niels Kuhlen. So Eli Goldstein into the lead of the race then on home soil. Niels Kuhlen, the Dutchman, there in second position. Third place, Joey van Splinteren in front of the treble two of Sim Liedmar, the Estonian. And there's a couple of drivers making overtaking moves in that middle pack as we've got several drivers clattering away for position and some great dicing just outside the top six there as we've got several karts in the mix. That's the likes of Harainen, Bunshu, Rovers, Saval Martin, Porter and Hansheim all battling away for position there. But it's just going to get better and better and better as the race goes on from the way things currently look. Really good stuff as the drivers continue to battle. They are still pushing very hard. And as they come through out of those final couple of quarters, we're going to see Niels Kuhlen trying to get closer to Eli Goldstein once again to try and take that lead back. Joey van Spunteren in third position, being caught by Sim Liedmar and Philip Vava. No moves into the corner, or is there? Philip Vava dives up the inside of Liedmar and gets the place there. So Philip Vava up into P4. Nicely done. Well controlled to keep Sim Liedmar at bay on the retaliation. And Sim Liedmar has now got two drivers right in his tail. That's Harry Platten and Tony Harainen. And as they continue to battle away, we're going to get some really exciting tussles from outside the top six. Liedmar, meanwhile, is trying to come through in a fourth position, and he's made it stick. And that's really caught out Philip Vava because Harry Platten's gone through. And Vava has found himself tumbling down to sixth position in front of Tony Harainen. Harainen now comes through. Harainen takes the place. And it's not going to be too long before he loses another position here to the 310 of Danny Bunshu. So Bunshu, the Swiss driver, is on the tail. He's looking for a good exit off the turn. A few more drivers having a bit of a battle as they come off the final corner there. That looked to me like Morgan Porter trying to come through on Noah Rouvers as Harry Platten has gone past Sim Liedmar. The Brit moving up into fourth position. This is easily Harry Platten's best performance of the season thus far. And he is there in a good position in fourth place in front of Sim Liedmar. Then it is the 215 in sixth position of Tony Harainen, the Finn. And then we've got Philip Vava, Danny Bunshu, Morgan Porter and Simon Henrad. Superb driving at the moment as these guys continue to battle away for the victory. But Eli Goldstein, Niels Kuhlen and Joey van Spunteren are your leading three. And they have broken clear from Harry Platten in fourth position ahead of Sim Liedmar and Tony Harainen. He's your leading three. We're on lap 5 of 11. At the end of this one, we will be on the exact half-distance lap, which is lap 6. As they come back onto the straight, Eli Goldstein has that little bit of a gap to the two men behind him, Niels Kuhlen and Joey van Spunteren. Always critical when there's that little bit of breathing space between them. So they're doing a good job at the moment as things currently stand, with Goldstein leading from Kuhlen, van Spunteren, Platten, Liedmar, Harainen, Vava, Porter, Bunshu, Saval Martin, Fleming, Van der Westerleken and Mark Kimber, just ahead of Sylvester Alexievas. But there's still so much of this race to go because we're on lap 6 out of 11. And there is going to be a really tough battle all the way through as Harry Barlow tries to get himself up the inside there of another opponent and is not able to do so. Just looking all the way through the field, there are battles at the front end, there are battles in the mid-pack, and there are battles towards the rear. So a lot of drivers still trying to make a move or two as they battle away with other competitors. There's a lot of overtaking opportunities here at Mariembourg, and drivers know how to exploit them once you've raced here for a couple of times. So this is their third heat of the weekend, these guys, I do believe. So for a lot of them, this is a really, really strong start to their weekend. Here's Eli Goldstein. Eli Goldstein just pushing on very hard indeed as he tries to get away from the man in second place. Niels Keulen ahead of Joey van Splunteren. Harry Platten doing a grand job in fourth position. He really has earned this kind of form that he is starting to show. Platten in fourth place from Siem Liedmar and Tony Harainen. Morgan Porter from Philip Waver. Then it's Bunschu, Sevel Martin, Fleming, Alexievas, Kimber, Van der Westerlaken, Nellison, Hunt, Roovers, Paniautu, Hernandez Ruiz, Pruto, and rounding out the top 20, that is Anthony Munen. Now, for some reason, William Godefroid has found himself right down at the back of the field. He is now in 23rd place, having originally started in second. So Godefroid has had an absolute nightmare of a race. Not sure what it is that's put him all the way down there. But with 4 laps to go, Eli Goldstein has a lead of 1.2 seconds over Keulen and Van Splunteren. He's going to canter away to the victory of this if he just keeps this sort of pace up. And that is pretty astonishing, even from Eli Goldstein, who we know to be one of the top competitors in this class. Really, really brilliant racing from him at the moment as he continues to run there. 4 laps to go, including this one. But Eli Goldstein is looking good for the moment. Niels Keulen second, Van Splunteren third. Then it's Platten, Liedmar, Harainen, Porter, Waver and Bunschu. Sevel Martin 11th from Fleming, Alexievas, Kimber, Van der Westerlaken, Nellison, Hunt, Roovers, Paniautu, Pruto, Hernandez Ruiz. Then it's Harry Barlow moving up to 21st ahead of Anthony Munen, William Godefroid, Jack Tomelin and Jan-Philipp Springhoff, with Simon Henrad, Xavier Hansheim and Rashid Ghanem all out of the race. Now, I didn't actually see where they had their incident. I think it's been out of sight down at turn 16, but all 3 of those drivers out of the race, and I'm looking just towards turn 1 to see if there's any debris or any carts that are parked up there. So no, I haven't seen any, so I think that is where they've come off the circuit somewhere. We'll have to double check. Actually, there is a cart having pulled off on the far side of turn 10, so we may well get a replay of something shortly, but I can't see anything at the moment that would suggest there's been a nasty incident. Eli Goldstein still doing a grand job on lap 9 of 11. 3 to go, including this one. And the young 14-year-old sensation really has taken to the Senior X30 Championship in the European Series like a duck to water. He's so good at this, and he has decided to make it a step up to the big leagues and race up against all sorts of various top talented racing drivers from around the world. And to be fair to him, he has done an absolutely cracking job here at Mariembourg. Knows this place very well, of course, and uses that to his advantage. 2 laps to go. Is there going to be a change for second place? Because Niels Keulen is still being challenged by his countryman Joey van Splunteren. And Van Splunteren, to be fair, has been very good at maximising his opportunities when they arrive. So are we going to see another chance or 2 emerge from him? But Eli Goldstein, no problem at all at the moment, as Eli Goldstein just continuing on. Corner after corner after corner, just keeping the rhythm of the kart flowing. No mechanical problems in sight. And then Harry Platten in 4th position. Is quite a long way between these two in the flow of the battle. He's a good 8 or 9 kart lengths behind them, but in 4th place and still keeping it very honest indeed. In front of Liedmar, Harainen and Morgan Porter, Philip Waver up and down the field like a yo-yo, Danny Bunschu and Carlos Sevel Martin. And now we go into the last lap. And that is a warning flag coming out as well for Carlos Sevel Martin. So the Spaniard is given a warning flag. Not entirely sure what that one was for, but that is what he has been awarded, unfortunately. But Eli Goldstein doing an amazing performance here. A 56.553 makes him the fastest driver on the circuit, and 2 right, considering the pace he's currently showing. He's done a cracking job considering where he is. And this is going to be the kind of race form he will show to the end if he continues this form. And look at him. He's just absolutely impervious to all problems out in front as Eli Goldstein just canters away to the victory. He's pulled out a nice enough gap of just over 2 seconds, and the young superstar Eli Goldstein is going to get this race won. Out of the final couple of corners and down the main straight, it is a victory for Eli Goldstein yet again. Perfect drive from the Belgian on home soil and making it look so easy. Niels Koelen and Joey van Spunteren are second and third. Harry Platten is fourth from Siem Liedmar. Tony Harainen, Philip Vava, Morgan Porter and Danny Bunshu. Then Carlos Saval-Martin rounds out the top 10 despite his warning. Thomas Fleming 11th in front of Mark Kimber. Sylvester Alexievas, Rivaldo van der Westerlaken. And then we have Rufus Hunt and Tom Nillison from Camille Pruteau and Noah Ruvers. Juan Carlos Hernandez Ruiz and William Godefroid recoveries to 20th position. Harry Barlow 21st from Leonardo Paniotto, Anthony Moonen and Jack Tomlin in front of Jan-Philipp Springob, with retirements from Simon Enrad, Xavier Hansheim and Rached Genem. So there's your results. A fantastic job from Eli Goldstein, eventually pulling out to 2.5 seconds ahead of the two evolution carts of the Dutchmen, Niels Koelen and Joey van Splunteren. So good podiums for them, but I tell you what, that really was something pretty special by Eli Goldstein to get in the lead and disappear away from the rest of the pack. Evident enough of his talent and his credence here in Belgium on home soil. He's been absolutely incredible. Now, I'm not sure what happened to Simon Henrad, Xavier Hansheim and Rached Genem. I didn't see them off the circuit, but I wonder if it's because that's just out of my view. I think that happened. Blocked in. Yes, it's an incident that's happened behind the digiboard. So the podium and the digiboard have blocked my view, and I didn't see what happened in that incident. But 2 or 3 carts coming off at that part of the course that I just can't see. That's my blind spot, and that's why we lost Simon Enrad, Xavier Hansheim, and Rached Genem without any logical or apparent explanation. And that's what we saw in that one, unfortunately. So a big problem there. But those 3 drivers will have another opportunity. Simon Henrad, Xavier Hansheim and Rached Genem, the 2 Belgian drivers, along with the Lebanese racer Rached Genem, who races not only here in the European Championship, but also in the British National Series as well. But a very disappointing end to the race from him. And we move on now to look at the next of the X30 senior qualifying heats, and that would be for groups A and D. And that means that the front row of the grid is going to have Nicolas Picot and Sean Butcher on the front row.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingham and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jake Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
You're listening to Race Day Live on Downforce UK, brought to you by Clapham North MOT, Motorsport Days Live, Stopwatch Hospitality and Trade Price Cars.
So 2 drivers who have taken victories over the course of the weekend on that front row of the grid, Nicolas Picot and Sean Butcher. This will be really interesting to see how they go, actually, because both of these guys have just as good an ability to go for the victory. On that second row of the grid as well, we have Ruben Moyer and Clayton Ravenscroft, the latter of which has finished in second position in a heat already this weekend, so has what it takes to move his way forward from that 4th position slot on the grid. Then we have Jordan Brown-Nutley and Henke Waldschmidt lining up on the 3rd row of the grid, with Louis Westover and Ben Fayers in position as well. Masatora Wada and Ali Akabi in the mix, as well as Stefan Planchamp and Danny Curl to round out the top 6 rows, I should say, top 12. Sebastien Degrand and Robin Knutson are on the 7th row of the grid, with Levi Dintecanto and Enzo Giraud. Then we have Jana Gouvarts and Owen Byatt from Milan Petele, and alongside him on the grid is Martin Hebet. And we have Romain Leroux and Henke Kalterum, Rafael Villagomez and Lena Buehler, Dana Pongpang Zatumnu and Kilian Belair, and then Manel Galofratone and Camille Donic. I'm not entirely sure if Kilian Belair is still here this weekend, because I've seen his name appear on the grids and I've not yet seen him turn a wheel, so I wonder if after some difficulties yesterday maybe he has had to move on. Now, Nicolas Piquet versus Sean Butcher is definitely going to be an interesting one because both of those two drivers have a really strong chance to win the whole meeting, never mind just this race. Sean Butcher is really, really strong on that outside line because, a bit like Joe Turney, he has that ability to drag the car across to the inside apex. And if he's better off the start than the man on the inside, Nicolas Piquet, he might be able to just edge him on the way round the outside because you can carry the grip through that first corner fairly effectively. And that's going to be really interesting to see if anybody tries it. We're getting close to the realms of 6 p.m. local time here in Belgium, which means we've got about 2 hours or so to go. We're 20 to 6, which is about the time, 2 hours from now, that the last race will kick off for the day, and that is the seniors in Heat 10. Because we are currently in the seniors for Heat 8, and that is Nicolas Piquet and Sean Butcher from Ruben Moyer and Clayton Ravenscroft, Jordan Brown-Nutley and Henke Waldschmidt. After this seniors qualifying Heat 8, there will be a couple of juniors races for Heats 5 and 6. Then the minis once more, the super shifters once more, and then the seniors for groups 9 and 10. Heats 9 and 10, I should say, sorry. While we've got this downtime and we're waiting for the racing to get underway again, also worth bearing in mind that we go into tomorrow with the warm-up sessions for each of the karts at 8:50 local time. And then we'll have the second chance heats for the juniors and that'll be about 10 past 10 local time. So I guess that we will be starting on the live stream tomorrow at about 10 o'clock in the morning. And then, of course, we'll have the second chance heat for the seniors and the Comet Cup for drivers who have not been able to make it as far as the second chance heat. And then we'll have the pre-finals for each of the classes for Mini, Super Shifter, Juniors and Seniors in that order. And then the finals for the Minis, Super Shifters, Juniors and Seniors, again in that order. So it's going to be a really interesting weekend. We had some great battles at Salbris 8 weeks ago. We're going to have just as many, if not more, here at Mariembourg. Nowhere near the same kind of circuit. Lots of long straights and tight, twisty, flowing apexes last time out at Salbris. Here, it's very complex, tight and twisty. Tricky kind of course. So the drivers are obviously going to be working very hard to get those karts up to speed in the first couple of laps of the heat. And then they will get around the circuit with a few more overtaking moves under their belts for sure. Final motivational handshake there from Ruben Moyer as the mechanics have cleared the pits already, and now they are sending them out into the heat haze here in Belgium. Still very, very hot considering it's 20 to 6 here. And to give you an idea, the track temperature is about 28 degrees Celsius still. Absolutely incredible. Sweltering heat here. Nicolas Piquet on pole position for this one, as we mentioned, from Sean Butcher. Ruben Moyer and Clayton Ravenscroft on the second row from Brown-Nutley and Henke Waldschmidt. Then it's Louis Westover from Ben Fayers, Masato Iwata of Japan and the Jordanian Ali Akabi. Then Stefan Plonchap and Danny Curl. And that's the reigning world champion, of course, Danny Curl. That's seventh row of the grid. Sebastian de Grand and Robin Knutson. Levi Lintucanto and Anzo Giroud. Jana Govaerts and Owen Byatt. Milan Petelet and Martin Hebet. Romain Leroux and Henke Calteron. Rafael Villagomez and Lena Buehler, the lady Swiss driver. Now moving to the Evolution team for the rest of the season. And then, of course, we also have Thanapongpang Sutumnu, Kylian Belair, although I'm not sure if he's starting the race or not. And then Manel Golofratone and Kamil Donic. Max Pilker did not take up any of the starts, so he is not going to be classified as a finisher. Now, we've got somebody running around at the very back of the field, a latecomer to the rolling laps. So I wonder if he's going to have a chance to get the race running again. Well, it turns out that he is, because the man on pole position, Nicolas Piquet, has spotted that he is a long way back and has decided very early on in the lap to hold the field at bay, to give him time to come back around and get himself into position. He's watching to see where his colleague in the field is, and the kart in question is the Treble 3 that is trying to make its way back into position. And the Treble 3 is, of course, the kart belonging to Manel Golofratone, the Spanish racer. So he is getting himself back into position there on the last row of the grid alongside Kamil Donic. And then once he has done that, we can go racing again in the Senior X30s. 8th heat out of 10 today, 10 of the races, and there are 22 of them in total, but 10 of those races are just for the one class Senior X30. Again, well subscribed, with 70 drivers in the grid for this weekend. And great to see the international flavour of the European Championships. I was trying to tot it up earlier and figure out how many nations we have represented on this grid. We have the Belgians, the Danish, the Dutch, the Spanish, the Estonians. We have the Americans. We have the British, the French, the Swiss, the Polish, the Germans, the Canadians, the Thailand. We also have the Swedish, the Finns, the Lebanese, the Irish, the Lithuanian, the Jordanians, and, of course, the Portuguese. And they're all here in magnificent fashion for the European Championships. They come from far and wide. And it's great to see them all doing an absolutely terrific job of it. The Philippines is also here, of course, being represented. And all of the drivers now making their way out of that final section of performance as the drivers battle away for position. So let's see them as they now get their revs rising up as they go up into position. The drivers will now have a slow run, or are they getting up to speed fairly quickly? They are getting up to speed fairly quickly, but pole position is not going to be as even as the second row. Here we go, and Ravenscroft trying to come through, but already it is a strong charge from the inside line there from Jordan Brown-Nutley. He's gone straight up into fourth position off the start, and as they come through this time by, there's going to be a bit of a squabble at turn 2 once again. Nobody in there having too many issues as they come up to turn 4. Again, they keep themselves largely in check. No major problems, although Manel Golof-Ratorna might have got himself a little bit of a push in the back, but other than that, everybody through cleanly. A nice start here in the senior X30 brigade. So it is a good start and no major difficulties at the moment. Out in front, we still have the pole sitter, Nicolas Pico. Ruben Moya has now come up into second place in front of Jordan Brown-Nutley as the field swarms its way through the S's in the early part of contention. Into that square left, and it's going to be a very strong move from Sean Butcher, who forces Jordan Brown-Nutley out wide, and Henke Waldschmidt gets through as well. So that was a bit of a tight one. But it's going to be a very good race from here. Pico and Moya, Butcher, Waldschmidt, Brown-Nutley, Ravenscroft, Fayers, Ackerby, Curl and Masatora Wada. And there's a big tussle as Ravenscroft battles away with Brown-Nutley. And they just had two karts dive up the inside of them both to try and move up the order. Now Ravenscroft coming back and Waldschmidt's getting squeezed out there. It's the 364 moving forward of Ali Ackerby. Ali Ackerby into fourth position and Ravenscroft going with him there. So that was a good bit of driving, and I think the man up to sixth place now, I think that's Danny Curl, who has worked his way forward. Either that or that is Henke Waldschmidt. So a very interesting start to proceedings, that is for certain. So really intense battle in the early stages as the three drivers in the lead of the race have already started to pull out a gap on the rest, led by our new race leader, Ruben Moya. So the Spaniard has got past Nicolas Pico, and now it is Ruben Moya, the Spaniard, who leads the way in front of Sean Butcher and Nicolas Pico, because Butcher got through as well. Ravenscroft coming through into fourth position of the way through. Oh, there's a big shunt on the main straight. There's a big shunt on the main straight, and that surely is going to be a red flag. I think we're going to have that's a big shunt. The 374 has come off there on the main straight. Now that is Henke Kalteren. Red flags. So Henke Kalteren on his feet, so the race has been stopped. And I guess that was a bit of a battle down the straight and two karts coming together, but the race has been red flagged. So the race has been stopped. And that is a very nasty looking incident on the main straight there for Henke Kalteren. Two karts did not come through that time, while Henke Kalteren and Lena Bueller has retired from the race as well. But Henke Kalteren, a very nasty incident as the kart has been spat out. The kart is on one side of the circuit. Henke Kalteren is on the other side. So the race has been red flagged, and very rightly so, it has to be said. Let's have a look and see how everything is. Henke Kalteren is conscious and he's up and about. They're bringing the karts to a stop on the main straight, and I have a feeling the officials are going to have a word with the drivers. And it's a very tricky situation that we're in now, because that was a very nasty and ferocious looking accident. But it looks to me as though initially Henke Kalteren was reasonably okay. The drivers have been pulled to a stop on the main straight. But obviously some medical attention is needed for Henke Kalteren, the Dutchman. So they are going to prioritise that. The officials obviously need to make sure that Henke Kalteren is well seen to. And it was the Dutchman who ended up out of the kart there. There was a rather nasty bang on the main straight, and then all of a sudden I managed to spot Henke Kalteren's kart, the front end completely destroyed and no driver in it as it spat itself to the other side of the circuit. So without a shadow of a doubt, Henki Kalteren is out of the day's action, if not the meeting. But a rather messy state of affairs, unfortunately. Well, we just need to let the officials do their job and obviously make sure that Henki Kalteren and the other driver in there as well, because I think there is a second kart involved in that one. But they obviously need to make sure that everything is A-OK. But it is Henki Kalteren that has been involved in that incident, and obviously the officials and the medics need to make sure that Henki is okay. It's not the easiest of places that he came off, unfortunately. So on the main straight, the officials obviously going to work, and we now just need, ladies and gentlemen, to make sure that Henki is going to be okay. In fact, it's two drivers in the mix there, actually. It's not just Henki Kalteren. I've spotted another one in the battle there. So we have two drivers involved in that one. And I think the other one is Enzo Giraud. So Enzo Giraud is the other one in there. So it is two drivers involved in that racing incident. Unfortunately, Enzo Giraud and Henki Kalteren, and they both came off at a rather awkward part of the course. So it looks like both of them are going to need some attention. But this is the important part of the procedure, folks. We need to allow the officials and the marshals to do their job. The Royal Automobile Club of Belgium have been working very hard all weekend. We need to make sure that they are obviously able to do their job in the best possible shape of mind and the best possible form to make sure that they are okay. It's obviously a dangerous sport, motor racing. We know that. But the officials and the marshals are down there. They are going through the procedures and making sure that the two drivers, Enzo Giraud and Henki Kalteren, are given the best medical attention they possibly can be given. So that is the procedure we are currently in. And obviously we need to make sure that correct procedure and protocol is given. It's always a nasty incident when that sort of accident happens on the main straight, and we have two karts in there who are in need of attention, and we are under red flags here while we are trying to get things cleaned up. So while we have this situation on the start line with the red flags out, it's worth bearing in mind what we actually have to talk about from this first part of the race. Ruben Moyer making his way through to the lead in that one. Now, because we had two completed laps, actually the red flags came out during lap 2, so I'm not entirely sure. No, we were on lap 3 at that point, so we had lap 3 was the red flag point, so I think that's where we're basically going to be in terms of the positions we are currently in. So the drivers are now basically getting attentions, and the officials are doing exactly what they need to do, which is to give the marshals and officials there on the main straight a little bit of privacy, because obviously they need to make sure that the official protocols are done correctly. They have to make sure that the drivers are attended to correctly, but they obviously need to do it at exactly the right time and the frame of mind. It's a nasty incident, but the drivers have to make sure they're okay. And I can tell you that Henki Kalteren is walking down the main straight. So that is really good news. That Henki Kalteren is obviously being adhered to there. He's obviously had some medical treatment, and Henki Kalteren is on his feet. That is really good news, and hopefully we will have a similar situation for Enzo Giraud once he has been attended to as well. But it's very important, of course, that we make sure that protocol is adhered to. If these situations occur, there is obviously a procedure that the drivers and the teams have to follow, and if that is the case, then obviously the incident needs to be covered from the eyes of the public. We do not want prying eyes to have a look at what's going on, hence the good work of the camera crews to make sure that it has not been spied on the home straight. But obviously there is a bit of concern down here on the main straight here at the Karting de Fagnes International Raceway at Mariembourg in Belgium, the second round of the IAME X30 European Series. It's a very tough sport, motor racing. We know how difficult it can be, and obviously all of the drivers are given a massive amount of attention, and the medical team's working very hard here at Mariembourg to make sure that everybody is looked after in the best possible shape of mind, and everybody is obviously given the best possible treatment. But it has to be done in the correct manner. There is a protocol it has to be adhered to, and we need to make sure that the officials and the medical team are going to do that to the best of their ability. And the only way to ensure that is to make sure that they are given the privacy to work, and to do so without too much of a difficulty. So the marshals and the officials down there on the home straight just following procedure. And I have to say, full credit to the Royal Automobile Club of Belgium. They have been absolutely terrific over the course of the weekend. They've kept us very safe and sound, and procedure is obviously being maintained down there on the main straight to ensure that Enzo Giraud is okay. I didn't realise it was Giraud in there, unfortunately. All I saw was Henke Kalteren's kart being spat out to the other side of the racetrack. But a big moment there and a big problem for the man who got involved in that one, Enzo Giraud. But fortunately, he is in good hands with the medical team. The officials and the medics are obviously down there making sure everything is A-OK. So we're going to take a pause in proceedings while we wait to hear any further news and developments.
Hi, I'm Tom Ingham and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Jake Villeneuve. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Bruno Senna. You're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Chris Hoy, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.
Hi, I'm Landon Norris, and you're listening to Downforce Radio.